Hey, what is going on, everyone? It's me, Mr. Mario, and welcome back to another episode of Mario's Minute. In case you do not know, this is the second podcast I do here in a couple forms. So, first of all, I do have another podcast, Mod Chat, that one being my main podcast, where it is a little bit more structured. I typically cover some things that I find new, interesting, cool in the world of video game modding, video game console modding, all that fun stuff. But this here, as I've said, is my second podcast where I do it once a month, and I just come on here and I talk about really whatever the hell I want to. Sometimes I have a guest on, sometimes I don't. I try my best to alternate between month to month on that. And I will say, I'm sorry. I've slacked on that a little bit. I know there's been a couple months this year that I should have had a guest on and I didn't, but don't worry, we are making up for it this month. Either way, with all of that, this is available in two different forms. First of all, you can find it in a video form on the Mr. Mario 2011 YouTube channel. There's not all too much going on there visually. It's really just my channel art with a cool looking visualizer. At least I think it's cool looking on there. And it's more having a conversation in the comments over there. But it's also available as a audio only version on really any type of podcasting app, platform, service. It's not available on all of them, but it's available on most of them. If you look up Mario's Minute, you should hopefully be able to find it. Either way, like I said, this is going to be a guest related episode finishing off this year of 2022. So I'm hoping it's going to be a fun one here. But as I always say to my guest here, who the hell are you?
ModzvilleUSA, brother. Oh, yeah.
How are you doing, man?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, it's I will tell you, I certainly wasn't expecting that because we've been talking for like 45 minutes or like an hour before this. It's been pretty chill, and it's just like coming in real out like that.
Well, I had a good minute while you're doing the intro to be like, you know what? I'm going to try to sound like Macho Man for like a second.
Okay, fair.
But no longer than that, because then my voice is it's already destroyed from just that moment.
Oh God. Okay. Well, I hope it's not going to be too destructive the rest of the night. But I think we'll be okay. I think we'll be all good. But yeah, how are you doing tonight, man?
Doing good, man. Just fucking chilling out.
Okay.
Easy breezy, sipping on some Major Melon.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you like the Major Melon Mountain Dew. You know, I wasn't a fan of that one.
You didn't like it.
It's okay.
You either love it or you hate it. It's a very I don't
hate it though. But
you're neutral.
It's okay. It's not the one that I'm going to gravitate to, you know? Like I like Spark more when it comes to like the new ones that they released. And then like
Spark's pretty good.
The one that's kind of surprising though, Flamin' Hot. Like it's actually surprising. Like I enjoyed that one. You didn't know?
No, I'm looking that up right now.
Oh my God. There Flamin' Hot Mountain Dew. It is a thing. I will tell you, it does have a little bit of heat to it, but it is surprisingly sweeter than you would expect.
My God.
Yeah.
Let me see. What does it look like?
It's red, man. It's red.
Ooh, that's some neat packaging. Yeah, I'm for it. I mean, that sounds disgusting, but I want it.
Here's the thing. It was it sounded disgusting, but I was like, I have to try it, and I'm like, oh, this is actually kind of good.
Damn. Have you had the Voodoo yet? Like the one that's flown around? It's like raspberry or something.
I liked that one. You know, I'll tell you, one I hated. One I hated, I got it, and I'm like, I'm never doing this one again, and Mountain Dew better not either. The gingerbread one.
That sounds horrible.
It was so bad. It was bad. It was holiday last year, I'm pretty sure. It was not good.
That sounds pretty bad. Oh, man. Yeah, the Flaming Hot packaging looks pretty cool.
It is pretty awesome looking. Yeah.
I don't know. Major Melon looks cooler, though. I'm looking. That one came up in my search.
It does look cooler, and that is why it was more disappointing when I had it. And I'm like, I don't like this that much.
Yeah, because I was like, when I saw that packaging, I was just like, yes.
But are you like a watermelon person? Is that what you gravitate to, or like, is it something you enjoy? Because like, I know people who just absolutely love watermelon. So
it's a damn fine melon. It's probably top tier melon. I'm not looking for watermelon all the time, but. Yeah, if I had to pick a melon, I'd go with the watermelon, I think.
Okay, fair. Yeah, so dude, I just want to thank you for joining me here tonight. So far, it's been fun.
Happy to be here, dude. This is neat.
Huh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's pretty laid back. We kind of just chill, talk about whatever the hell we want to on here. I do have some things I like, I kind of just go off, not really a script on here, but kind of just ideas that I have, whatever it might be.
Got some bullet
I did
points.
want to know though, with the character you were bringing up and everything, I've been curious, how the hell did you get your name or come up
That's
with it?
actually like that's super mundane, but I will go through
Okay.
it. So when I don't know, I think I made my channel in like what 2015 maybe
I don't
2014
I
2015
don't know. We can look it
something
up.
like something like that. Well, it was just like what I was watching at the time was like it was Game Tech US and Review Tech USA were like the two channels that I was like watching a lot of at the time,
Hmm.
and just like, yeah, no, that makes sense. Throw the USA in there, and then I think I was like playing like later on I was like playing Rust, and there was an American flag like ski mask skin in it, and I was like, oh my god, that's cool. So I looked it up and I bought one, just because I wanted. I just bought one, and then I was kind of like, oh, you know what, I should like that works as USA in the name. I got this mask. I'll just wear that. That's neat. And it's really like nothing. There was nothing more to it than that. Like just like I don't know, just threw USA in the name, and then got the mask and realized that's a gimmick there. And I'm a
Okay.
I'm a sucker for a gimmick here and there.
I feel actually thinking about it, like I just thought of this right now. I think you might be like the one masked modder on here.
Yeah, probably. Let me see. I mean, most a good majority of us just do like either just like footage like of like captured footage or like hand cams anyway. Some people do the webcam and all that stuff, but I can't be bothered. I'll just be a hand model.
Well, you've done the webcam thing though, and you've been masked up for that.
Oh, I did, and it was a
Yeah.
pain in the ass. So I just don't even bother with it anymore.
That's the thing when I've seen some of your videos, because I look at it from like a video maker perspective, I'm like, this
Yeah.
cannot be comfortable.
No, no. I would do when I was doing streams for a bit, I would do like, I'd be rocking that shit for like 4 or 5 hours. And
Oh
it
God.
with the sunglasses trying to play some games with sunglasses and a mask. It's an added challenge, that's for sure.
You're just like it. I mean, then imagine like, did you ever do any like actual like hard modding on there? Because then it's like already like doing the hard mods on camera is difficult, and then if you're obstructing your vision and your breathing and everything.
I think I tried it once and I just wasn't vibing it.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I
entirely fair.
wasn't stoked on doing like the live hard moddings, cuz I mean it's just, even having holding a conversation while modding, it could throw me off. Like I'm very zeroed in on what it is I'm doing. So if I'm speaking, I'm probably not doing my best mod work, like
That's
in
fair.
general. Like it's like one or the other. And yeah, I mean that's why for the most part, I mean, like with my videos for the most part, I try to. I'm just thinking like I like shooting the videos. I absolutely hate editing, and I want to minimize the editing like as much as possible. So it's like I'll do like two or three things usually. Like if it's something challenging, like I'll do a couple of them before I film it. Because when I
Mhm.
film it, I just want to like talk about what I've learned from it and like have it ready in my head of like what to say for each of the things and just cut it down. I don't want to be like overdubbing. Just want to have it, but like you got to dial it in. You got to dial it in a little bit if you're gonna like really try to just be able to like off the cuff like shoot it and not have to do overdubs or
That
whatever. Just cut
that's
out the stuff.
That's entirely fair because, man, you mentioned the overdub thing. Man, I hate doing those so much.
Yeah,
Like, I'm one of the weirdos. I'm gonna say I'm a weirdo. I like editing. There's just something
you do
like
like editing?
there's something just like therapeutic and nice, and it's
Hmm.
kind of just like the beauty of like taking all of these like taking like raw ingredients, and the editing is when you're really like mixing everything together, cooking it up, and then seeing the result come out of the oven when that video is rendered. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that process. But there's certain parts of editing I don't like. One of the things being like the overdubbing, because you are, flubbing over your words and you're editing
Yeah.
in real time there. So like there's times to get a basic sentence out. Sometimes I am saying the same sentence like 9 or 10 times because I'm like, man, I just can't get it tonight for whatever reason.
I've been there. I've done some overdubs. I'm not like I don't refuse to do them, but I really if I could just like get it right while I'm working on stuff, that's ideal for me. And I
Hmm.
get it with like enjoying editing. Like when I'm in the weeds, like and actually get in the trenches and I'm doing it, like get over that initial like, oh, I don't want to do this. Like if I'm committed to it, like there'll be points where I'm thoroughly enjoying editing. A lot of it is just the like psychologically get to the like, okay, I'm going to like halt all my productivity and just like commit to editing, and just be like, it's just a tedious affair, where to like take the time to be like, all right, it's gonna be about like 3-4 hours of clicking around, rendering, slowing your computer down while it's rendering, uploading. So then you're slowing down your computer again because you're capping out your upload. Or at least for me, my internet's not great. And then the metadata, it's just all the tedious stuff that adds up. Doing
that
YouTube is very I get very I procrastinate is what I was looking for. I
that's
procrastinate on
fair.
stuff.
That's fair. I will say when it comes to that, like, because you're actually saying it's kind of a psychological thing with editing. One thing that's
Mhm.
helped me out is I look at it as like mentally working out. Because for me, here's the thing: I realized this like a month ago, right? When I was kind of just like I kind of had an epiphany moment. I'm like, I work out Monday through Friday. And even on the days I don't work out, I'm walking my dog. So I'm walking my dog once or twice a day. I'm doing all that. That's still going to count for something as well too.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh thing is, man, I don't like working out. Like even the actual
You're right.
workout stuff I do, I don't do it for the enjoyment. It is possible to enjoy working out. And like
Some people do it.
yeah, and when I'm into it, like when I'm really getting into it and I'm enjoying myself, when I'm in the zone, I'm like, "Oh man, this is great." But there's like most of the time, like I'm not working out for fun Monday through Friday. I have to force myself to, start that workout, but once you get into it, it can be enjoyable. But it's
For
also
sure.
pain as well too. But when it comes to it, like no, I like the editing process, but there's even still days where I'm just like, man, I don't want to do this, but I force myself to sit down, open up the editor, and then like after 5 minutes, I'm like, oh, this is great. This is just I'm
Yeah.
zenning out to
Yeah,
this.
once I'm in it, then I'm stoked. But it's
Hmm.
that initial like, do I really like should I like mod a console or should I like sit there and edit? And it's like the modding like first and foremost to me. Like I really enjoy that. And then like the editing, it's like I gotta
Oh,
be.
you might have to move closer to your mic, man.
Oh, sorry.
All good. This is
Um,
good. Yeah.
that's good right there.
Yes. Perfect.
Okay, cool. Yeah, with like I always choose modding over editing. Like if I can like mod a console or like if I'm way in between the two, it's like I could like I'd rather shoot more footage and then I just end up with like I've got like probably like 50 folders of just like videos I've abandoned because I just never got around to editing them.
Dude, I'm laughing because I know how that is.
Yeah, there's so many. Um Yeah, I mean, you did the Corona video, like,
Oh
and I was
fuck.
like, I like
Oh my
had that
god.
done, and you probably know why I procrastinated that one. That's like, right? Like these, because I had just done like the Corona like RGH 1.2, like,
Hmm.
and then like a week later RGH 3 came out. I was like, motherfucker, this is gonna take so long. Like I just finished this. I was more bummed when RGH 3 came out because I had just done the RGH 1.2 videos, and I was just like, no, I'm
Respect to the
starting over.
developers. We appreciate it. But yeah, even
We
I've talked with
yeah.
shout out to Octol or Josh. I talked with him
Yeah.
about it because he's one of me because we sometimes we'll talk about some content and he's asked me to do some RGH 1.2 related stuff. So
Yeah.
at one point I'm gonna do my own spin on it. But he even acknowledged to me at one point, he's like, yeah, RGH 1.2 on Slims didn't get that much attention because I dropped it, and then like a month and a half later, RGH 3 dropped.
Yeah, they were very, very close.
Hmm.
And they're both very much like they both have their place. I mean,
Yeah.
RGH 1.2 on a slim now that RGH 3 came out is kind of niche, like if you need a mod chip like to do a dual NAND or whatever,
Yes.
but it's like it's all for the best in the long run, because I think it completely tanked the 360 mod chip market. So you get them cheaper. So it's like, what, you're
That
getting a
is nice.
cool runner for $3, or you can, spend like $1 and like what, like a diode and a resistor. What do you
Yeah,
even need a
you can literally
resistor?
put pennies into your console and,
Yeah,
get some nice results on there. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
either
no.
or, man, they're both great.
Yeah, dude, I know what you're talking. You bring up the Corona video, and we're not talking about coronavirus. We're talking about like the Corona motherboards for 360. And I was just sighing there because, like, man, that was honestly, I would say that is probably the most intense video, like the hardest video I've worked on. Because during that whole time, like, even secret here, I never worked on like from start to finish, like ripping open a console and modding it up. I had never worked on Coronas up until that point.
Oh,
So like
really?
yeah, so I had worked on them, but then there was like misinformation to iron out, and there was
Hmm.
all this other stuff I had to figure out. And huge shout out to Josh again, because I asked him several questions on that, and he made a whole lot of sense to me on there. And I was like,
Yeah.
hey, all this I told him, I was like, all this information is gonna be helpful because all this info is gonna go into the video. And he's just like, cool. Like he wanted the video to be good as well. And he helped add several other things in there that I didn't even know would be issues, like having like WinBond RAM. Like, did you know if you have a console that has WinBond RAM, there is a WB2K flag that you have to check when you compile your NAND, or else it won't boot up?
No, I had no idea that was a thing.
Okay, there you go. But there's a few people who have WinBond RAM, so they'll do everything properly, and they're like, hey, why can't my console boot to Zell? So
Really?
yeah,
Yeah, I've
so
never even heard of that.
there you go. And
That's
I never had either. So it was just a process of like Coronas aren't difficult, but they are a different beast that kind of
yeah.
needs to be tamed in a different way. Cause even it's just like
There's just
I
a
had
lot of different variations there
there
is
is, man.
the thing to cover. And I luckily luckily seen, I think it was, I learned it from like Weekend Modder videos or whatever. Like he had done like quite a few years ago. I think the common one going around at the time when I started doing Coronas was like the muffin installs.
Yeah.
Those were fine. But did you have a issue with the muffins or what?
Dude, those kill consoles.
I heard that, and then I heard that that was bullshit.
No, it took a lot of testing, but I don't even know like the fine intricate details, but in
Uh-huh.
short, it really just runs the South Bridge ragged. It
Really?
was the way it was built, it was kind of modeled after the CR4 XL, which like the way you install those
Right,
chips
right, right.
hasn't really been replicated, like that exact method. And it kind of pulls something from that, but it doesn't implement it properly. So the cool thing is with Muffin, when you install it and set it up, you don't even need to really do a good job soldering or anything. And that's why so
Uh-huh.
many people loved it. You can just literally throw it all together and it boots. But then if
Right.
you keep using that system after 6, 9 months, it just slowly stops. It boots slower, it boots slower. And then like when it just stops booting, you need to replace the South Bridge.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad
Yeah.
I didn't do many muffin installs then. That
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's so, the ones to really stick to, so back then it was, sRGH would be the one that was, safe on there, and then now if you have to do a chip on a, Slim, you do RGH 1.2. But yeah, that's why I was laughing with that. But you were saying, like, you were learning from the Project Muffin stuff?
Yeah, for like Weekend Modder had done like a pretty concise video about like all of the like version 1, version 2, version 3, cuz you would see a lot of information about like, okay, this version and that version, but just condensing it into like, okay, none of this really matters. Like, here's the three things that matters. The like, do you have like an eMMC, like the 4 gig or the 16? Like, are these resistors populated, or do you need to jump them? And then what? Check the CPU to see if you need the adapter, or if it's if you just wire to the board. Like, it's
Yep.
like just knowing like that little bit, like with Coronas, was like super helpful, because it's, you see a lot of like information about the different revisions, but once it's condensed into like the, here's what actually matters, like there's three things that matter.
Mhm.
but then to make a video and like to do it justice, like for Coronas, it's like you need to get a couple consoles,
Yep.
and I'm not about to like I can never really stomach taking like a console that's modded totally fine. Like I'm not gonna take it apart and remove everything to like shoot another video or something like that. Like that one's off, that one's gonna go do its own thing. I'm not gonna rip it open and like so it's like, oh god, I gotta get two more Coronas in here,
That's
or
fair.
have a couple come. Like one's got to be a NAND, one's got to be the 4 GB. You got to have a couple different
Hmm.
variations to like shoot it properly. So
No,
yeah,
that's
the Corona videos are as you know, kind of a doozy to put together.
they're intense, yeah, with that, and that was my other thing. I was like, I don't wanna make multiple videos about this, I wanna get everything in one, and it was like so I did that, so I had to find 2 consoles, so thankfully, it's like, I found a 4 gig one pretty
Mm.
easily, like, among my stash, and then I only had 1, like, version 1 16 megabyte, and it was my
Those are
Halo 4
much tougher
system.
to come across.
They
My
are.
R2D2, I think that might be a good source for it. I don't know if it's a perfect source for it, but I bought an R2D2
Okay.
recently, and that was a 16 gig for sure.
Okay,
So
so that's good then. So I
yeah,
had that. I had the Halo 4 version, which I've kind of been just sitting on for a while. Like, hey, I'm gonna do something with this at one point, and I was like, I don't really want to use this for this right now, but I might as well.
yeah,
So it was like the 4 gig. I end up doing that one, and then I don't know if you've had this. I had the thing. I get everything done. Console doesn't boot. Like, doesn't even turn on at all. So it's like I bricked the system just by dumping the NAND and writing this over. And
that was from RGH3.
from RGH3, yeah, when I was doing everything on there. And then that's why, like, one of the recommendations I found, it's like, hey, when you do this, when you write everything over, disconnect everything at that point. Disconnect from power, do everything, and then plug it back in, and it should hopefully
Uh-huh.
work. But
Oh,
you can,
wild! I've never had that. I haven't noticed that issue. I haven't, but granted, I've only done like I probably count on both hands how many RGH3s I've done. I just haven't been working on many 360s, but yeah, I haven't had that happen. Only what's it called? Like if with like the matrix chips, if you've got the bridge enabled for the oscillator on board, as opposed to like you've wired it up to like the crystal on the main board, but you've got the bridge going, so it's using the oscillator on
mhm.
the glitch chip or whatever. Like it'll just not boot. I think it'll beep, but it's just like that's it. If you've got that one, so I've had. But was yours just nothing? Like just no
Nothing. Well,
response?
to be fair, also on my 4 gig, it didn't have any of the because it was one of the ugly E models, so it didn't even have
Yeah.
the sound on there. Yeah,
Oh god,
yeah.
I hate those.
That was the issue I was having with the 4 gigabyte one, and I eventually got that like pretty immediately after once I had everything disconnected, reconnected, it was working fine after that.
Oh, I know what you're talking with the
You
4 gig
do.
when you have the SD card when you have like the SD card reading
I didn't even have to
portion
do that because
mounted.
I have the X flasher, so I just thankfully I
Right,
didn't have to
right.
mess with that.
It's like built into the X flasher, but it's when
Yes.
you have it connected to the oscillator, I believe that is. It's like
So
that
my
one
mine was
wire that goes
disconnected
off.
though,
Oh,
and it
really?
was yeah, that's why I said you have to disconnect everything from it, like, if you're experiencing, like, a bricked, like, console.
Yeah, those are
Yeah,
the worst, man. Like the
yep,
4 gigs, not just like it's not like difficult to solder, it's just wonky. Like no matter
yeah,
what, like even
yep,
with the X flasher, because I was doing those for years with like the SD tool, and I think I
mhm.
had like tried it and then just gave up on Coronas like for quite a while, like because I had initially done like the where you break apart one of the SD card adapters and like
Yep.
you wire up a resistor. It's like pretty simple, but I could never get it to work, and then I bought the proper tool and it would work and then it wouldn't work. And then you just got
Even
to keep
that,
switching USB ports and it's just wonky.
yeah, even with that, yeah, it depends on the ports, and it
Mm.
depends on even the adapter you're using as well
Hmm.
too, so
I've
so
had
there
that. When I was doing a bunch, I would have like 3 or 4 different brands, and like if it's just not working, I'm like swapping between them, and eventually it works. Like it's so annoying working on
that's
the 4
so
gig.
rough, and then
The
once
X
you have
Flash
it
is great though. Like
it
that
is.
minimized a lot of it, but it's still kind of wonky like that with
Yeah,
4
I
gigs.
agree. Yeah, but it's and that's just the nature of the Corona on there. And the nice thing is, once you get it modded up, I'm like, cool. I'm not taking a soldering iron to this again. Like, because once it's
Right.
modded up, it works fine. Um,
Mhm.
but no, there was that, and then I had the 16 megabyte one, and I worked on that. And honestly, I know where my flub was. I know where I messed it up. I didn't do a good enough job scraping back that one trace that you're supposed to, or
Mhm.
the via that you're supposed to reveal,
Yeah, yeah.
and it just couldn't glitch. And then I tried it several times and I just messed up that point. So the system still works, but it can't take RGH3 because of my own mess up on there. So I had to go look around on eBay, hunt around, like look at all these photos, zoom in on them, found a system
Oh,
that I was pretty sure was a Corona V1, ended up
yeah,
getting
yeah.
that. So I had to wait, end up like grabbing that, was able to mod it successfully, happy. So I'm like, cool. I got all the hardware footage I need at this point. I think we're good. But then you're dealing with like two weird beasts of consoles, two different installs that you're going to be covering. You gotta do the
Mhm.
other video footage on there.
Right.
Then in the middle of all that, I also got the Corona. Um,
Oh, hey,
yeah,
that's like a good omen.
yeah. So good omen.
Uh,
So
yeah, I mean, it's all Corona, you know.
yeah,
It's
I
like a
guess, and
it's
I
in the
remember
stars.
that. I actually forgot that I was sick because I like I had to heal up and everything because I was just dead tired when I had it. But
Mhm.
I remembered because when I was going back to edit some of that footage when I was doing everything, I was like, "Oh, I'm coughing in between these takes." So I was like
Yeah,
still
yeah.
recovering a little bit. But then also it's just knowing that it's such a long video and covering all this because like when the video came out, like I'm very proud of that video, but it's like an hour and a
Yeah.
half video. It is like it and like tons of cuts, tons of edits on there. It was
Yeah.
exhausting to make, man.
Yeah, I was that's why I was dreading, like, the editing, like, I had shot, like, all the footage, but I knew that I, like, misspoke somewhere and, like, was
Hmm.
going to need to, like and it had been, like, a month is, like, where what I'm gonna have to find it, and, like, I was gonna have to shuffle some stuff around and, like, really kind of, like really kinda have to do, like, a bit of, like, brainstorming of, like, how am I going to piece this together, and I just knew it was gonna be an ordeal. So when you finally dropped yours, I was like, "Oh, thank God. I'm just not gonna make mine." Like, I was, like, relieved.
Oh
I
man,
was like
I thought you were still gonna make one because I know you mentioned something like that, but I thought you were still gonna make one. But
I mean, I've got all the footage, but, I mean, I don't know. Your video's, perfectly
oh,
perfectly
well,
fine. There's no real point in God, I do not wanna edit that video.
well, thanks, man. I
I
appreciate.
was
I will tell you, I understand. I
yeah,
understand, and I'm just
it's a
telling
rough
you,
one.
like creator to creator, person to person. I get it. It was not an easy video to make.
No, there's still a lot going on there with Coronas. They're a beast. I mean, they're fine, like, doing them. It's just so much information to and I didn't even know about that Winbond RAM thing.
There
I
you
don't think I've
go.
ever run into a Corona that, like, I couldn't get glitching. Maybe I have. Maybe I have,
There,
and that's probably what it was. Are they super uncommon?
they are super uncommon. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
have you ever done a sharp, TSOT flash for the original
Ooh,
Xbox?
no, I've never run into any of those.
I ran into one once, and it was a nightmare.
What's
I
the
was
issue with it?
surprised. Like, it was crazy. Like, I had to use some weird, like, because back I stopped doing T-SOPs, like, a while ago, but,
Okay.
but I started, I was using, like, the Hexen boot disk for pretty much all of this,
Hmm.
and for whatever reason with Sharp, like, you needed to boot some weird, like, Linux disk, and you had to solder up a switch somewhere where it would, like, enable it and disable it at certain points. It was an ordeal. I forget
Oh
the
wow.
exact details. I could send it to you. There's a thread somewhere with the Aragon, like, Lord of the Rings meme is, like, the main thing is, like, one does not simply flash a sharp T-SOP or something, and it goes into goes into all the details, and it was, like, I was blown away, like, by
I
how
didn't think
annoying
it
it
was
was.
that intricate because I've never done one before. I don't have any systems with a sharp T-SOP.
Yeah, they're very I've worked on I mean, I probably worked on, like, a good, like, I don't know, 200 or whatever where I was, like, T-SOPing them, and that was I only ran into one sharp, and
Okay.
it was a nightmare. it would just, if you ever run into a sharp, just slap a mod chip in it and call it a day, because
Okay.
it's not
Fair.
worth it.
Well, now I feel like I kind of want a T-SOP one if I get one just for the challenge of it and
Just
just to
for the
go through it
video.
all. Yeah,
Yeah, you it
a
would be
video
an
or just
interesting
figuring it
video.
all out, you know?
Yeah, it was it sucked, but if
I believe it.
it was it was, yeah, it's something. I mean, you got to do like a toggle switch, is from what I remember, or like desolder a wire like halfway through. It was strange. It was very
Okay.
strange.
Okay, fair. The Xboxes are just different beasts unto themselves. That's kind of why I like them too.
No, I love those. They're quite fun to work with. I've been
Yeah.
thinking about doing one of the you ever see these split T-SOPs that people do
Mm,
for
I've
1.0s?
heard of them because isn't technically the T-SOP on the board, isn't it technically like a 1 megabyte and it just
It's a
has like
1 megabyte.
and it just
Yeah.
has like backups of the retail BIOS on it,
That's
doesn't
what
it?
it
So
is. Yeah, it's like cloned like 4 times or something.
yes, so you can technically split it into like four
Fo
256Ks, I want to say.
It's yeah, 4 256s or 2 512s.
Yep,
So, I mean, I think the like the most logical way to make it not like a pain in the ass would probably be 2 512s, and then just flashing X blast to 1. And if you want to, like, so change your BIOS, you put in the X blast, toggle the switch, flash it, and then rinse and repeat would be kind of a nice little, have a nice little toggle switch somewhere
gotcha.
on it.
See,
Uh
I've heard of that, like, when I was looking at some old legacy forums and everything, it was, like, back when, like, the early to mid-aughts when, like, it was really popular, that's when, like, that method was, kinda popular just for it was just a cheap way of getting the custom
yeah.
BIOS on there, so that's when I saw a lot of people doing it, but, like, recent days, I never see people doing it.
Nobody's doing that, but it is kind of neat. If you've got a 1 megabyte like console, might as well. I mean, you could, if you had an X Blast in there, those are 1 megabyte, so you got 2 BIOSes. You can
Mhm.
squeeze a little bit more if you just want to wire up a toggle switch, but that is a
That's
bit
cool.
more annoying to do, like
That's fair.
routing a toggle switch somewhere, finding somewhere where it looks nice and
Yeah, at that point,
isn't
it's
like
just kind of for the challenge of it as well too, because we're well past the point of, "Oh, it's just gonna be the cheaper version." It's like, "No, you're doing this kinda just for some fun."
yeah, it would just be kind of neat.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a little neat.
I mean, I saw it the main reason I saw for it back in the day was more for, well, kind of, mod chip functionality without having a mod chip, but really it was
Mhm.
for, being Xbox Live safe and everything.
Oh, that's why people were doing it originally?
Yeah, because you could have your custom BIOS, then you could flip into a retail BIOS and, just
Oh, yeah,
boot
yeah.
into Xbox Live.
I didn't realize until, I think yesterday, because I've never had so I wired up I installed a XBlast Aladdin for someone, and, just went straight, D0 to ground, so TSOP's disabled,
Okay.
and, then I get to the end, and, they're like, "Oh, yeah, I wanna have access to stock firmware." So I was like, "Okay, crap." So, I already wired it up like this, so it's like figuring it out. It's like, okay, I'm gonna use one of the 2 banks as stock firmware, the other one for whatever it was. I don't think it was a SurBIOS build, whatever build it was,
Maybe
and
like Evox or something.
it was, no, it wasn't. It wasn't M8. It was
Executor 2?
IND
Okay.
BIOS, because it was a 128 megabyte. So M8 doesn't support that natively. You gotta like patch it.
That's fair,
Uh,
yeah.
and then X2 I like really don't like, because it's got that like really obnoxious like loading the, or like it looks for the config file,
See,
and
the thing I like about it though is that it boots up like the actual like BIOS boot is in 480p and then like it changes the camera angle and everything. Like I've always thought that was pretty sick.
oh, that is cool. I think it's just with like the SATA adapters, or like a lot of times when I see those, it's like when you have like a larger hard drive, it'll like take a while to load the config, so like the boot animation gets like cut off. It's only like a fraction
Mm.
of it. Have you seen that?
I've heard of that. I haven't experienced it myself, but I've heard of it.
That's like always the case. I've seen, or whenever I've done like because I mean, I'm usually using like larger hard drives, and it's always with X2, it always cuts off the boot animation, which drives me kind of nuts. Same thing with like the GC loader, how it gives you like a little like snippet of
Yeah.
the boot animation, and then it cuts off. That I don't know. I'm not the most OCD character in the world, but a partial boot animation
You want to see a
really
full
bums
boot
me out.
animation. I
I
get it.
want to see it. I want to see it. I don't want it. I don't want a little tease like that. I feel incomplete.
That's part of the charm to it as well too. Also, the other thing is when you go back to these old systems, it's like, wow, they boot so much faster than the newer systems.
Yeah, their new systems are like, I don't even want to like PS5 or like the Series X. Like, I've waited out this, like, all I want to play is Demon Souls, but not for like $1,000 or
That's
whatever.
fair. That's
It's not
fair.
that good of a game.
I
But
will say the PS5 is the PS5 and the series, they are faster than their predecessor, so that one is
that's good.
nice. But like the Xbox One, I'm just like, man, this takes like a minute to boot up, and it's just like sitting there, and it's like, I'm not an impatient person, mind you, but there is something nice to just booting up the GameCube, and it's like, oh, 5 seconds, you're in. I
You're
also
in,
like
yeah.
last generation. I don't know. I became a little less like actually a lot less like social when it came to like my online gaming, and I kind of stopped for a while. So that's
Mhm.
when I started like really getting into like the PS2 modding and the Xbox modding. So for me, I was like, you know, I kind of really like just cutting on my system, and within a few seconds, I get to my list of games and I can just pick something. I don't have to really worry about like online connectivity. I don't have
Yeah.
people like logging in and out and all this. I'm not getting notified. So the funny thing is, when the Switch came out, I was like, a lot of people were complaining. It's like, oh, it doesn't have an internet browser, it doesn't have Netflix, it doesn't have YouTube. At the time, it didn't, and I was like, actually, I'm used to this. I like it. It's quiet.
Yeah, it's nice. You don't need a bunch of stuff in your face. That's kind of where like Xbox has turned me off since like post 360. It's like just like so much
Hmm.
like buy this thing. You're just getting ads crammed down your face the entire time.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it's so much simpler on the older systems, and that's when people actually like. If you release a game, you're committing to it. It's like or like a band releasing an album. It's like this is your product instead of like being able to completely depend on like releasing, something like Pro Skater 5 like with like
Oh
2
God.
megabytes on the disc and just
N
like at
No, that
first.
one at least had the tutorial level on there, but
Oh,
I
that's what
I
it
think
was.
with, like, the 2 megabytes, I know, uh, Super Lucky Tail, that had maybe, like, 13 megabytes or something,
It's
initially.
so common
Uh,
these days. I mean,
yeah, we
they
also
get
had that with
shift
Modern
for
Warfare
it, but
2, the new one.
oh, did they do that again?
Dude, 72 megabytes on disk, I'm pretty
Oh my
sure.
god, I'm so out of
Yeah.
the Call of Duty loop. Uh,
And then so and dude, it's a big game too. It's big. Like not even
yeah.
just the campaign is on there. So you're downloading like I don't know, at least 60 gigs.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's like with modern systems, it's like you finally like go there to play it, and then you're downloading a system update, and then you want to play a game, and then it's like, okay, it's downloading 20 gig update, and it's just like by the
Yep.
time you can actually get into the game, it's like you got something else better to do. Like
I I
happens to me all the time.
experienced that first with the PS3 because the
Hmm.
PS3 that was when it started having real big updates and it was slow.
It's
So
so
I'm
slow.
just and you have to and it's not like the Xbox where you just download the latest update. No, 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 no. You have to download like 6 updates for your game or
Yeah,
20 updates.
PS3 is pretty rough. Really rad console to blow open custom
Oh
firmware
yeah.
wise, but yeah, you're gonna be dealing with some slow screens there. That's for sure.
Yep, yep. And then people will try and tell me they're just like, "Oh, it's not slow." I'm like, "No, you don't know what you're. I was there. I remember it. It was slow."
It's still slow. I've literally just bought I bought a CCHA 00 that I followed your video to region change it. The one
Oh well,
because
thank
you
you.
have it
Yeah,
as
I
the
I did see.
DVD.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's no, it came in clutch for it's also very very nice for if you import from Japan and you want to use the cross as accept and circle as back
Mm-hmm.
because you're used to it. You just switch that region. It works
Yep.
very nicely for that. I mean, it's still region free when you custom firmware and all of that, but I just really got that nice benefit of like I wanted that control scheme and I wanted it to
Absolutely.
like locked in and it's nice. But I'm looking forward to getting that Frankie. Speaking of Octal, let's send it in. I'm still waiting on the RSX, but
Oh,
Yeah,
all
I
right.
am
You're
very.
getting a Frankie set up.
I'm getting a Frankie, man.
Very
As soon
cool.
as I saw that video from Felix,
I haven't finished it. It's immaculate video. I'm like halfway through it right now. Rip
it's like a
Felix.
Rip Felix,
Yeah.
masterpiece, dude.
That
He
is
went hard
that
on
is
that.
one of those good videos to watch while you're eating.
Yeah, for sure. It's like full blown, like a lot of time went into that. I can certainly appreciate, but
Mhm.
yeah, that the lore there is wild, and I don't know, man. The PS3 is like I want a back compatible PS3 in my collection at all times. So
That's
I'll
fair.
take I'll take my delidded one, put it on the shelf like as a backup, because that's been serving me nice. It's never had yellow light of death. It's
Mhm.
delidded. It runs cool, but I want a damn Frankie, dude.
That's understandable.
That's,
I've got a CCHA01 and like I cleaned it up, repasted it, jailbroke it, all that fun stuff, put some
did
games
you
on there.
delid it?
I didn't delete it. No,
It's so scary. I ruined
I
my first
know.
one. I delidded, and
That's why I don't want to delete it.
don't.
Like,
Yeah, send
it's
it to someone who's
honestly
done it. It's
Here's
not
the
worth
thing.
it.
It's fine. It was working fine. It's been cool. All that fun stuff. It's been all right. But I'm also afraid of using the thing. So I more
Right.
just kind of keep it next to my PS5. And now the PS5 now makes the PS3 fat look small. It looks nice there. If I really feel
Yeah.
like playing some PS2 games, I guess I can. But I also have like a modded up PS2 with a hard
Yeah.
drive.
There you go.
And then my thing is as well, it's like the best middle ground when it comes to PS3 is getting like one of the early or like a custom firmware compatible Slim. So like I
Yeah.
will
Yeah. Yeah.
use that for like if I'm wanting to play PS3 games, I'll use that and I have one of those. So I have literally like two PS3s in my setup.
Yeah. Same. I recently got I had the 2000 as like my backup one for a while, but I got in a 2501.
That's a
I
good one.
believe that was right at that cusp, like right before it started. Actually, you know what? I've downgraded a ton of those, and I don't think I've ever run into one that was like not downgradable, like
All
the
right.
2501s. Have you? Have
The,
you ever seen one?
I can't think of off the top of my head. I know they're out there. I certainly know they are out there, and that's why the check and all that is important.
Yeah, they've got to be so rare because
Hmm.
back in the day that was kind of like my bread and butter before like PS3 exploit came out. Like
You were
to
just
get
doing like the E3 flasher and everything.
well, I started full lore on like when I started
Yes.
doing the modding stuff was, or at
Actually,
least
I wanted to
when
ask you about this. Yeah, like
I
go
wanted to
into. I
ask you
need to,
too
dude. I want to know
if
this
you're
origin
done.
story.
The origin story. Okay, let's trade them if you're down.
Oh, okay.
Have you done it? Have you gone over yours yet?
I think before. I don't know if there's like a specific video I've really gone on it, but like yeah. Let's do this.
Okay, cool, man. Well, just from like well, I guess a little preface, like before the PS3 stuff, like what I grew up with like late '90s, maybe. Like my stepdad hooked me up with a PS1 with a mod chip in it, so it would have been one of the like
Oh,
the four
lucky.
wire ones for sure. Like he had a guy at his work who
Mhm.
was just modding everyone's PlayStations, and everyone we didn't have a burner, but every once in a while I'd get like a burned copy of like Crash Team Racing or whatever, and then later down the line I learned how to do it myself. Like wouldn't have been image burn in the early 2000s. What the? I was probably
Uh,
using Nero or something.
Nero or maybe Clone CD or CDR Win. Do
I
any of those
definitely had
sound
Clone
familiar?
CD. CDR Win. I don't think I had that.
Uh,
I did have
alcohol.
Disc Juggler. I had alcohol. I
Okay.
still use alcohol for like
Alcohol
mounting discs.
120% is nice. It has a
Yeah,
PlayStation setting in there, man.
yeah. I still have that. I still rock that on Windows 10 for mountain discs. I think. I don't know. I've used it in recent years.
All right.
Disc Juggler, and then oh yeah, obviously
Because Disc Juggler's for
Dreamcast.
the Dreamcast games, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dreamcast came out. Figured out how to burn those eventually. The first time doing any kind of like mod was PS2 for Swap Magic.
Okay.
I had the press Swap Magic discs
Mm-hmm.
and
I got
did
those.
the shell swap with the flip top on top so you can like put in the disc without tripping the sensor. That was the
Mm-hmm.
first time. That was probably the first time I ever opened a system up. I did that. And I remember burning Manhunt 2, and I was playing it, and it was like towards the second half of the game, like it just wouldn't read the disc anymore. And I was like suffering through it. I would be like 20-minute loading screens, and I'd be like, no, 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 it's gonna work. It's gonna work. Like
Did
I
you
had no
did you
idea.
did you ever flip the PS2 upside down?
No, I never tried that. It would have been a
Okay.
fat
Yeah, that is something that people did. They would put the PS2 upside down to see if it worked.
for like helping to read burn games
Yeah,
easier.
because you use the power of gravity.
Oh yeah,
It was
yeah,
real quick. I'm gonna share shout out to Colin, who I've had on here before, but he once posted like he was on Twitter and he was like, "Oh man, I really wanted to play this PS1 game on my PS2 Slim and it's just not working." And I told him, flip it upside down, see if it works. And I bet he thought he's like, this guy's fucking with me, but also I kind
yeah.
of believe him. And
Right,
he
right.
did it and it worked. And he just replied, he's like, how the fuck did this work? Like, this is my origin. This is my Joker moment right now. Like, why is this working?
That's crazy. I mean, that turns into like a record player, like where it's like from coming from the top. It's like the lasers, the needle. That's kind
Oh
of
yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
It's like inverted.
Yeah.
Yeah, though PS2 is still like because I mean you probably see I do all those chip installs and
And the
just
pick
playing but getting
fixes and everything.
backups.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and just getting those lasers to they're so picky. The PS2 lasers are so picky. Even PS1, those just like the optical pickups that Sony used in those early systems, it's like they really, really, really like do not play well with backup media. It's kind of
You
crazy.
I've learned I think there's yes and no to that. It's mostly kind of the times we're in now. It's that the optical media, the brand new stuff these days is not as good as what was out, during like the aughts and even like the early tens.
Is
But
that seems to be playing a factor because I've noticed it too in like Dreamcast and stuff where I'm just
mhm.
like
Yep.
it's not working.
So it is part of it is the media, part of it as well too is that when you're burning games and everything, it does help to burn them slower and a lot
Yeah, I
like
always do 4 times.
modern burners don't burn at that slow of speed. So even if you set it to 4 times, it's probably really burning at like 16 times or something.
Mine goes to 8, so I've got this.
Okay.
I'm never getting rid of it. It's the looking over at it. I think it's like this. Is it the Sony OptiArc or something like
Ooh,
this?
that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, I got this for 360s.
Nice.
Back.
I used that thing until I burned it out.
I bought another. I mine totally stopped working, and then I went on Amazon. I think it was like maybe 2020 even. Like I replaced it, and I was like surprised. I was still able to get it for like 40-50 bucks.
Really? Okay,
Yeah,
I might have to pick up another one.
they're really good. I mean, because it was you can just like there's no BS. I remember at the time when I was trying to burn 360 games, like looking into you got to flash the drive and all
with
of this. Not
with
the
the
drive on.
the iHas drives. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, and I saw somewhere that you can just use one of these Sony OptiArcs, and I grabbed it, and it just burned 360 games fine,
I swear to God, Sony did that shit on purpose.
just
Because
to be a
that
dick.
dude, that drive. Because okay, Sony of all people, or like of
Yeah,
all corporations, releases that for around the time when
I never even
XGD3
thought
is
about
coming
that.
out. Because
Yeah,
I don't know when exactly this drive came out, but I know it
uh,
started rising to popularity like shortly after the iHas custom firmware and everything came out. So it would allow you to like overburn games and not
yeah.
truncate them, which like okay, you could do it for dual layer DVDs in general, but it's like, what is the one time right now that is really popular that you would need to overburn dual layer games? Oh yeah, if you're
Right.
burning new Xbox 360 games.
Dude, you're probably spot on. I never thought about that, but that
And
sounds totally right.
it looks like it came out, so date first available, September 23rd, 2012. So it would have come out
Yeah,
around that time
yeah,
because
totally.
XGD3 ended up releasing like late 2011 and really catched on 2012.
Oh, classic Sony.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, one of my first videos was like some really like shitty. I think I was like Bandicams in the corner, and it's just like get this drive. I don't even think I'm talking in it. I don't think I even had a mic, but it's just like yeah, these drives work. And I remember it took like a while, like to find. Like I was like digging through like threads, and then like it wasn't like it was buried in like way too much information where it's just like, oh, you could just get one of these drives and it works. And that was after like hours of reading, like, you need to get this, you gotta flash it with this and then do
It
all this.
it
And
was that drive was, like, known if you were, like, in the know, I guess. It's not like it was, like, hidden, but it's like, okay, you need, like it's almost like explaining, like, a meta joke to someone where it needs
yeah,
so much extra context before, so it's like, okay, for me, I'm, like, one of those weird people who, like, yeah, I know all this stuff about the 360 off the top of my head, I know where exactly
yeah,
to go, what to look up, so it's like, "Oh, yeah, I know about this drive."
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you knew right away what I was talking about. I had to
Yep.
like dig like for that information. I remember making the video and people were just like, "He's a liar. This doesn't work." I was like, "What?"
But it
I
works.
was like, it was like
It
half dislike. I mean, it probably got very little views, but it was just people being like, "It's this is a lie. It's a scam." It's like, what are you talking? Like
honestly, it
it
sounds
works.
unbelievable, but I can verify that was real.
Yeah, it was. It's a real drive. It's still mine's still kicking. Well,
That's
it's 2 years
awesome.
old now. I replaced it, but yeah, it's
Fair.
still running. So yeah, back on I guess
Yes,
the lore
PS2.
train. So
Yeah.
the PS2, I did that, and then over the years, like I did like I was always interested in this stuff. Like I had gotten a modded PSP at some point. I'd done the whole like Wii soft mod thing, maybe like early 2010s or whatever, and then did the old Xiphon filter like soft mod Xbox, but didn't start doing the like this like until like I'd gotten like a PS3, like I think hand me down,
Okay.
and it was a Nor revision, um, and I took it. I looked on Craigslist like for like a modding service. Um, oh, one little tidbit. Let me back up 1 second. Previously, before that, there was like maybe 2008, 2009. I had like I had a 360, and immediately as soon as I got it, I went on Craigslist to be like trying to find someone who's down to mod it, and some dude like I found a guy, and me and my buddy both got ours done. We drove out there. Some dude in like a dollar store, like like a Chinatown, like mom and pop, like dollar store. This kid
Okay.
was like 16, working there at like the Family Dollar store,
Mhm.
and we're just like, "Hey, we got these 360s." So like, okay, cool. And he took our 360s and went in a back room, and came back like 30 minutes later, like flashed both of our disk drives, made like $120 like right there. And I remember leaving being like, that is the coolest kid I've ever seen. He's just doing this in like a as he's on the clock at some like pawn shop dollar store looking thing. Like this kid is the coolest guy
I
in the
bet he's
world
making I'm assuming it was like a family business or something. I bet he's making his
for
family
sure.
proud.
Yeah, they were probably super stoked. I thought like that kid was super rad. But then cut to whenever I get a PS3, like 2013, 14, just dead broke. Take it to a guy to like mod, and he's like okay, yeah, I'll get to it later. And it sits at his place for like 3, 4 weeks. He's not getting back to me. I call him
Oh.
up, and he's just like I've got a job. Like he's being like kind of like shitty about it. Like, oh, I'm working. It took forever, and then it was like pretty clear it was never going to get done. So I like eventually like work it out to go over there, and like paid him like he never finished it. Paid him like $20 pretty much to just like get my stuff back. And then I come home and just start doing a bunch of research. Like I had soldered here and there before. Then I wasn't like great, but I went and picked up some Radio Shack soldering iron.
Back when Radio
Probably didn't
Shack
even
was a
know what
thing.
like yeah, when radio I miss that place so bad. It was cool. I love being able to just go in there and grab stuff. Like
So expensive, but so convenient.
yeah, like when you randomly find a JTAGable X360, just hit up Radio Shack and
Mhm.
grab some diodes. But yeah, no, I just went on Seven Sins. I got like bought a Teensy. I wired it up. Like every single wire, I had like a piece of paper, like numbered, like 1, 2, 3, 4 to keep track of it all. It's like
Mhm.
so janky, but I like wired it up to the teens or to the PS3, dumped my NAND, whatever, and like patched it and flashed it back, and it worked. And I was like, no way, like I pulled this off, like, and then just pretty quick, I was like, you know what? I could do way better than that guy that just held on to my shit for a month and didn't get anything done. So I just like made my own ad and just went from there. I was like, fucking, I learned this, like, fuck that guy. And like, I made my own ad. And shortly thereafter, I stopped seeing his ad and I was just busting out PS3s for people like crazy. Before PS3 Expo, and then shortly after, we'll go into like flea markets, finding a bunch of 360s, checking them out, fixing them up, learning how to like J tag them, RGH. Found your channel at the time, and then funny story, like I would have like customers, like some kids. This kid who would like come with his dad, and he would like every time he would be like, "You need to start a YouTube channel. You need to start a YouTube channel," and I'd be like, "Nah, I don't. Like, nobody cares." And then I ended up finding it was your video. It was the 360 drive flashing, like all the different versions, like in
Okay.
one video. You remember that one?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Still
Yeah, it
proud of
was
that video.
that video was great. I remember seeing
Well,
that, and
thanks,
that
man.
was like, that was like, I'm doing this. Like, this is like, there's definitely a market for it. Like, it can be done really well. That video was definitely like I believe that was like why I like was like, yeah, I'm making a YouTube video. Like, there's definitely a point to this. Like
All
that
right.
kid's onto something. So yeah, that all there would be no Modzville USA channel if it wasn't for that Xbox 360 drive flashing video. That was
That's
definitely
dope.
my like kicking off point. Like that was the one. But yeah, no, from there it was just like, I don't know, do it here and there, time to time, mostly PS3 and 360 scene, but then yeah, PS3 exploit totally came in and like changed the game. Like nobody needs to like downgrade it the hard way anymore, which was kind of nice because I was sick of doing it at that
That's
point.
awesome.
I
Yeah,
switched
I
to the
remember.
E3 at some point, but the Teensy was kind of gnarly.
Oh yeah, yeah, all those wires. Yeah, I think with even with I and shout out to the whole PS3 exploit team, like awesome people over there. But I remember when it dropped, I was like, I didn't believe it. I was like, no way. Kind of like I had like your same reaction with like when you got like your system working with the teensy, and then I was like,
Yeah.
I have this system here. I don't care about it. Why not? Let's give it a shot. And then because I work with servers and everything, so then I downloaded the files just when you had to self-host it, and I was like,
Hmm.
okay, so yeah, these files they look pretty easy to. Let me just find a way to host it. Like I used KWS on my Android device because I couldn't get
Oh, nice.
I think they recommended MiniWeb at the time, and I just couldn't
That's what
get
I
that
have. I
working.
still have that like on I still have the, what is it, the 4.84 files. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
had to
yeah.
use those recently.
Yeah, I think it's up. I think it works up to 4.85 right now. But I had that, and then there's something else that I use, like because MiniWeb just never worked properly for me.
mm,
Like there's something else on PC. It's based off Apache, so I'm familiar with that. But I know what I did was like I found KWS, I put the files on there, hosted the website, made sure I could hit it, and then I tried it, and within 20 minutes I was like, holy shit, this actually works, and it was like easy. Like, what is this? Because it's just been so
yeah,
many
yeah.
years of like, we hadn't been able to do that since what, 2010, 2011.
Yeah, no, it was a game changer. I was so stoked when it came out because
Yeah,
at that point in time, like now, I'm sure if I wanted to, there would be no point. So I'd have to be like motivated to like do something stupid for the sake of a video or something. But
sure.
at the time, like NAND consoles were just like too gnarly for me. Like I couldn't handle they were out of my league. Like when PS3 exploit came out. Now I'm sure I can downgrade a NAND, but there's no point. But anyway, that off topic. When that came out, my first thought was I'm getting myself a like an AO1 at this point, like because I had held off forever because it was a NAND console. It was like if I'm going to get an AO1, I want to put custom firmware on it, but
Of
NAND
course.
revisions were so much gnarlier to downgrade than the NOR revisions. Like you had to, because at least with the Teensy and the Nor, like you had those big test points. It was a lot of wires to keep track of, but it was like you were soldering to like anybody can solder to them. It's just managing your wires really. But yeah, the NAND, it was like I think it's kind of like it was kind of like the PS2 mods where you gotta like solder directly to the really fine pitched legs,
Oh yeah.
And at
Yep.
the time, I was freaked out by that. That was like not going to happen. So yeah, I was so stoked when it came out because that just meant like the AO1s are obtainable now to have on, because they were so expensive if you were going to get like a 3.55 like AO1
Yep.
like before it came out. You're looking at like $500.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm not sure where they're at right now. I know a few years ago when I bought an AO1 for myself again, even then I splurged a little bit, but it was working like in pretty good shape. It has the flap and everything on there, so like it looks like a nice system, and I think I paid like $200 for it.
mhm.
Yeah, so yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
was I was happy with that. I think they've
I
kind
got
of
mine
gone
for
up a bit
20,
because
and that
from
was
Japan,
like,
right?
from what now? No,
From
no, no.
Japan, right?
That one's recent, but mine was when it came out. I hit the flea markets, and
Oh, all
I
right.
was very much like, big tip for anyone listening that likes fixing stuff up and modding stuff or whatever. Go to your local flea markets, and if you fix stuff up and you tell these guys that you're like the resellers, the people like reselling consoles and whatever, just tell them you'll buy up their broken stuff, and they will love you. They're sitting on a bunch of crap that like doesn't work, and if you tell them that you'll take it, they'll sell it to you. And a lot of times, a lot of these dudes, like, it's something simple, and that was the case for my AO1. Like, I got it for $20 as for parts and not working. It had a dead laser warranty sticker on it. Yeah,
Mhm.
$20. I think this maybe, when did PS3 Exploit come out? Like 2017,
2016.
2018. It's that old?
Yeah, yeah, it was like late 20. Let me even I mean I can even double check on there, but
I
I'm
thought
pretty
it
sure it was
was.
late 2016
Damn, time flies,
or
man.
yeah, dude, I know. It's a trip or it might have even been late 2017. Again, I'm not 100 or I feel like
That sounds
2016
that.
is about right though.
Yeah, I'm feeling 2017, but you might be
Yeah.
right.
Let me see here. Yeah, it was no, okay, so it was late 2017, excuse me.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
I had
that
I
makes
had
a
to
bit
get all
more
my
sense.
dates kind of right on there because I was like, it was one of these years.
I'm pretty sure it was 2022 or 2023 is when it came out.
Which
No,
one?
I'm just kidding. I'm
Oh,
just
okay.
messing
Oh,
with
God.
you. But yeah, no, that was a game changer for sure, because just being able to get those AO1s like on custom firmware, they're so much better. It's just,
hmm
I don't know. I can't understand, like, I can't even fathom using a PS3 that's not like rocking Rebug or whatever. It's just like, it's
I
just so
mean,
nice.
PS3 hint is nice. I have that, but like, yeah, I just can't do. I don't want to do a stock PS3. I gotta have a modded.
Yeah. So you're all right with Hen even having used like custom firmware way before that?
I would prefer custom firmware, but I think I like PS3 hints so much just because it's something new and it's really interesting. So I'm like, oh, this is really cool. Also, just a thing of
Yeah.
like, hey, we're like achieving the impossible right here because this wasn't supposed to be possible on Super Slims.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is cool. That is cool from the technical standpoint. I just always was like I hated the way the Super Slims looked, and when that door opened, I was just like, it's like a just get a pre 3000.
That's
That was
that's
still like,
that's fair.
that was my
The
first
PS3
thought.
Super Slim it is
It's an acquired
literally the
taste.
coolest system, but it's also very ugly. It's kind of like how the
Yeah.
360 is. Like I don't like the E models, but when I booted mine up the other day because I was doing some videos of testing and stuff, I was like,
Uh
wow, I forgot how dead silent this thing is.
yeah, it is pretty quiet, huh?
Yeah,
The Trinities, I've noticed they do run like really hot, like the APU on those
they
things.
can. Yeah.
Yeah, compared to like Coronas, even, like, it seems like that APU was like way hotter on the Slims at first. And I don't know if you can attest to this, but from what I've noticed, because I know you're big on the Jaspers, I'm
Oh, I
big on
love
the.
the Jaspers.
I probably learned that from you, was that Jaspers were the best, like, early on.
They are,
Um,
man. They're the best.
I think they're the best. Like, I prefer Jasper over. I mean, aesthetically, I think I like the Slims a bit more, but as
Fair.
far as the most reliable, like, I don't know. I could probably check my JRunner folders and tell you how many 360s I've modded over the years, but I feel like it's in the good 500,000 360s I've worked on, and like a lot of it is like buying like junk lots of like consoles, and like, you know, the ones with the red ring of death I'll part out or whatever, and then everything else I'll like fix up. And for the most part, I've never seen a Jasper have like red ring of death that isn't
There
like
we
a
go.
MOSFET or isn't like a capacitor, or it never like the proper messed up GPU.
Yep.
But I've
So
seen it
that's
on the Slims. I've seen those full
yeah.
by.
Yeah, no, that's why I say if you want actual reliability, the Jasper's going to be the best one. Funny thing,
Fully agree. Fully agree.
there was one or two times I've gone like game shops and I was like, "Hey, can I like look through your, you know, like your busted 360s and I like how
Mhm.
much do you want for these?" And they're like, "Yeah, I'll sell you console only busted like 10-15 bucks." The secret
Oh,
there,
nice.
I would look for the Jaspers. Those would be the only ones I would buy because I would take them
Yeah.
home. So I'd have like 3 or 4 and hook them up, and like every single one, it was just dead laser. And I'm like, cool, super
Yeah.
easy to do. I don't have to, you know,
Always.
send this off to get repaired. Don't have to worry about it because it was pretty much like, hey, if this is a Jasper, it's not going to be a red ring. I know it's not going to be a red ring.
Hmm. Now I've gotten it not like the proper. I forget the error codes off the top of my head. But I mean, there's like, you know, there's the red ring of death where it's like, you know, it's slow to pop up and then it comes up. That's usually the proper red ring of death, where it's like doesn't not immediately the red ring. It
Sure.
takes like a few seconds. The like instant red ring of death, those are like different error codes, and those are like I've had that from like that are very very obvious, where you like it'll be a Jasper instant red ring. You open it up and then you see a row of capacitors that are bulging out the top, similar to the original Xbox. Those
That's
they've got these
fair.
green capacitors in them that are that sometimes you'll see those where like those capacitors were just like blown on your
Yeah,
Jasper, like, but that's pretty uncommon.
it
I'm sure
is.
it'll be
Yeah.
more and more common over the years. By and large, if you're lucky, like you've got a 4 parts Jasper like from a shop like that that doesn't like try to fix it up before they flip it,
Yep.
it's probably going to be the laser, like, or just or the belt even. Like sometimes
Yeah.
people will sell them if it doesn't eject properly. So
So usually it's just the DVD drive at that point, which is yeah,
yeah,
much better than actually having to deal with either, you know, capacitors on the board or, you know,
right.
BGA repair.
Yeah, or narrowing down like which MOFSET. That's like the gnarliest I've seen on a Jasper is like bad MOFSETs or whatever. But
Right on.
by and large, it's just going to be a dead laser, a stuck drive, something like that.
Yeah. Which like at that point is like, oh, okay, fair. We can deal with this.
Easy. Yeah, anyone could swap a laser. That's
Exactly.
opening a
Yeah.
360 is a pain in the ass, so I will say that.
Actually,
Yeah.
you know, it's not a pain in the ass for I enjoy it.
Just cracking open the clamshell.
Dude, I love it.
It's a
Like
clicky affair.
I don't know what it is. I love it. Even like I've had there was even like one of my friends one time they wanted to borrow one of my systems and I was like, cool, let me this is back in the day, like I was letting her she wanted to try out Skyrim. And I was like,
Yeah.
cool, like let me grab like I got a backup of it because I'm not gonna let you borrow like my copy, but like hold on, let me grab another system. So I literally like opened it up, like flashed the drive and all that in front of her. And it
Mm.
was funny because it's like, you know, I was going through it and like to anyone who doesn't know what you're doing, you just look like a magician because you're poking these
Yeah.
holes in like the grates and then like taking them off. And I'm just like having her like hold the parts, and this like stack of parts is just stacking up. And she's like, "Okay, I don't know what you're doing, but this is like really impressive. I don't know how you're taking this thing apart." So it's like a very impressive thing to look at, but it's really it's fun. It's enjoyable. Like the fats, I love taking those apart. There's
Yeah,
also
I don't dislike taking them apart. Sometimes they could be annoying without the proper tool.
the
I've,
slims can be annoying for me. That's where I'm like, I'm
oh,
not like
yeah, it's
crazy
got
about
that
those
one
ones.
tab that's like, you know, for the most part, I will lop that tab off. The one that's behind the serial.
Yep.
What is it? That one. Just like
Yep.
if it's like one that I want to like service later, I don't know. Just flop that fucking thing off. Like once you've gotten it off, like you still got 3 tabs.
I don't do that. There's like a little emergency eject with the tab that you can access.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, okay. So there is I'll have to like link you to a video or picture or
Yeah, yeah.
something, but there's quite literally you will have to pierce the label, but there's a
Mm.
specific spot and if you just take like a little like pokey tool, just like if you have a like a blanking on a paper clip or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Literally just find where the hole is, poke it through, and it just pushes the tab open.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, and then
That's news to me.
every time you open up the system afterwards, you can just poke that hole right there and you can release the tab.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That is good to know. Yeah, that
Yes.
tab annoys the hell out of me. Um, I'm always just like, yeah, get rid of that thing. Fuck it.
Yeah.
It made it so hard to reach.
I'm not like super crazy about like the slims on there, but I'm like, okay, if I have to take one apart, like it's fine. It's not like impossible, mind you.
Yeah, I think like my first Slim years and years and years ago. I'm pretty sure the first one I did, I botched the faceplate,
Oh,
the
that
faceplate
happens.
ribbon.
Yep.
My first one was very much. You got to be careful for those ribbon
Man, because
cables, kids.
they'll pop off, like the faceplate will pop off, the ribbon will come off. It's an ugly affair when it happens.
Yeah, I only had. I mean, I learned the hard way the first time. I've had a few of those, like where you like, something goes wrong the first time, like, and it's usually like a ribbon cable. Like first time I don't know if you ever did this. Did you do this back in the day with 3DS, where to downgrade? It was like between, when 9.1 was the firmware that you wanted to be on, and before like it really blew up with like being able
You
to do it
talking
with
about like ARM9 loader hacks?
I'm talking about the maybe, but it was where you had to solder like similar to how you do for the 4 gigabyte 360s. You soldered like an
Oh,
SD reader to the
no,
board
I've
to
I've
downgrade it.
never had to do that on a 3DS actually, like thankfully, but yeah. I know what
I
you're
was doing
talking
those
about at
for a
least.
minute because that was like the option. That was all there was at a period of time between like, if you didn't have one that was on 9.1 at the
Yep.
time, you had to downgrade it. And for a while, that was the only way. And working on 3DSs, have you ever opened one?
Thankfully, no.
Yeah,
Funny enough, I've done only software on them.
yeah. Thank God, man. I don't know if you caught any of my optimized capture kit for the new 3DS like install. Yeah, I wanted
I've
to like part of that is like the design of the kit is just like
don't
infuriating. Like you have to
is it
cut
isn't
out the
that the
ribbon
one where
cable.
it's yeah, you have to cut out the ribbon cables.
Yeah, I did a video on it and
Oh
like
god, I didn't see that
I've
video. I'm pretty sure it's in my watch later. I do want to watch it, but yeah.
skim through it, and yeah, it's just I think it's mostly me just talking about wanting to blow my brains out the entire time. I managed to pull it off, but yeah, this when you see somebody charging 350 or whatever for those installs, it's like because nobody wants to do that ever. Like it's
Yeah,
awful.
because for a while, wasn't there was only like two, like I guess installers or like two boards that were like capture cards, and even like 3DS capture cards. That's a weird market as well too, because I think like some of them were just really not reliable either, so they just like break.
Yeah, I've heard that. There's a new one coming out worth keeping an eye on because the kit, from what I could tell, looks much cleaner, but it's very like I don't think the supply is much, but it's from 3dscapture.com. The dude makes the FDS stick as well as like previous like 3DS capture kits or whatever,
Oh,
but
okay, okay.
the FDS sticks, the Famicom Disk System, like which is an amazing tool. I use the FDS stick to rewrite Famicom Disk games. It's
I've seen your
super
video on that
nice.
before. That was cool. I've never
It's
messed with a Famicom Disk System, so
I love it.
I know you've really gotten into it.
I really love that. I mean, it's just a funny. I only collect weird stuff. Like I'm working on my complete Virtual Boy collection. I'm almost there.
Good
It's
luck
a
with that.
I mean, but I'm going full like Japanese because I'm not made of money. I've got my
There we go.
Japanese
Okay, that
Jack
makes sense.
Bros.
All right, all
I've
right.
got I think I've got everything except for Waterworld, and I want a boxed Wario Land, but that's all I really need. But collecting Famicom Disk System is just it's just neat. They're floppy disks. You got like these cool booklets. Something about it. It's just clicking in there. I don't know. I
They
really like that
they seem to
system.
be pretty affordable as well, right?
Dirt cheap to collect for, yeah.
Okay.
Not on eBay though. Just buy it straight from Japan. Just buy the lots
Yes.
and get rid of stuff.
Yeah.
If you try to collect it on eBay, you're gonna have a bad time. But if you just get junk lots and like just rewrite the broken ones, like you'll have a good time. But
That's fair. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, because I forget. It's like, oh, they're like floppies. So
Yeah, and they're the load times are awful, but they're charming as hell. I don't know what it is. I really because you're just hearing this thing. You load up Zelda or something, and then it's like you click through like two screens, and it's like flip it over, and then you flip it over. It's like it's like
Are
doing
you
it. It's like
serious?
grinding. Yeah,
I've
I mean it's not that bad, but you're hearing it
I've
going up and
I've
down.
never messed with the FDS, so like I didn't know, but
It's I love it. It's horrible, but it's like really charming.
that's
It's
fair.
like I mean, once it's loaded, you're loaded in, but there's so many, you're flipping discs around constantly. It's like I don't know, probably similar to watching a laser disc or something like that, where it's
Okay,
just
cool.
really tactile, hands-on affair.
Mhm. I've never gotten into Laserdisc, but, like, I actually saw one in action. We had one in, like, 1st grade, like, an interactive Laserdisc that, we messed with
That's
for a day. It was
rad, dude.
super cool. Yeah, like, real cool learning experience.
I've got a couple here, but I don't have a play. I think I've got Beavis and Butthead floating around somewhere. The movie,
Perfect.
and yeah, I don't know what else.
There was
And
people
could
who,
we?
like, even, I'd looked in, like, some movie collecting and stuff. There's people who they would, like, collect the Laserdiscs and everything.
Mm,
But some people even swore that some pressings were better than like the DVD copies. Like I think like Evil Dead
Star Wars.
2, I want to
I,
Star Wars, okay.
the
So,
Star Wars trilogy. I remember that was a big thing for a while, like because the remakes like were like even I think the original like VHSs or something. I was like, but I remember it was a big deal for a long time that the Laserdisc versions of the Star Wars trilogy was like the best version for years.
that's fair.
So what's your lore on the background of when did you get started in modding? What was
Okay, so again, I feel like I might have like shared this in maybe like some old video. I feel like I've shared it like publicly on the channel at one point, but it's buried somewhere.
yeah.
So, pretty much the way it came down to it was like I got into consoles like I guess late compared to all my friends because all my friends had like they had like a Game Boy when they were like real young, like 4 or 5 years
Yeah.
old, or they had older brothers who or older sisters they inherited consoles from, or just played off their consoles, whatever it was. So I was on PC primarily, but I was mostly playing like edutainment games. So a lot
Okay.
of jump start, a lot of that stuff. And I was always interested in like the technical aspect of things and like getting on the internet. Like that was always a part of me. Um but I really wanted a PS2 when I heard they were coming out, just because like DVD was like this is the thing, like the video
Yeah.
game thing was cool, but I was like, ooh, DVDs are really cool. Like that's where my head was
Yeah.
even as a small kid.
That's why
Like
it sold so well. I think same with
exactly.
PS3.
Exactly. Yeah, it did help there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the beginning of gaming overall, but like my first system was the Xbox. I was 8 years old at the time, and
Nice.
it was pretty much my parents were like, "Hey, we'll get you a PS2 eventually." At this point, I found out Microsoft was going to be making a system. Like my mom told me that, and I was like, "Cool, I want that." Like I like Windows, I like computers. That's cool.
Yeah.
um, so ended up getting one, much to like my mom, she came through on that. My dad was just like, I can't believe you got that. Like, seriously, like we really did that, but it worked out in the end. So I was like, that's where I was like kind of getting into gaming there and everything, but I also still really wanted a PlayStation. Like a PlayStation 2 would have been cool, but like even having a PS1 would be like super awesome. Um, Eventually got one from one of my cousins. I straight up just being a kid, I asked for it, got it sent out, was super excited about it. Like it's funny because I had
Nice.
the Xbox there, and I was super
Yeah.
excited for an original PlayStation because like it had like this large library of games I'd seen for years that like I kind of
Yeah.
gravitated to and I thought were super cool. And of course, being a kid at the time, like it's dumb that like the PlayStation games don't work on the Xbox. Like I don't I kind of have an understanding of that, but I also think it's dumb at the same time.
Right.
Um, like being a young kid then. So in the midst of all of this going on, like I was getting more into, the computer side of things. I was getting into like getting onto the internet, like was participating in the Napster boom, downloading MP3s. We had a CD
Hell yeah.
burner going through. Yeah, it was great. And then honestly, it kind of just came down to it where like one day I just kind of tried experimenting as a kid. I was like, hey, what if I put in like a copy of Grand Theft Auto? Like if I take this, put it into PC, copy paste all the files to a folder, and then I burn those to another CD. It should work. Like
Right.
logically it should work. Put it in the PlayStation, didn't work. And then I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, well, it doesn't work. That sucks. But like, why doesn't this work? And eventually, like, it was a thing I'd kind of wondered about. But then family computer got busted. We didn't have a computer for a while. I was that kid who was like going to the local library. Support your local libraries, everyone. But I was that kid going to the local library after school, just getting all the computers there, researching video game related stuff because still loved that.
Yeah.
Then I stumbled somehow, like I stumbled onto like unreleased banned PlayStation games, and I found out about Thrill
Thrill
Kill.
Kill? Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
and I got enthralled by this.
I played that back in the day too. Like
Dude, I got that's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
I got enthralled, I got inspired, I got obsessed. I was like every time I had access to a computer, I was looking up this game,
Thrill
just looking
Kill.
up screenshots, videos, character lore.
So you had to
Then
mod it.
dude, then I found out that there was like 4 builds of the game. I found out they were out there. I didn't know how to get them. I eventually figured out a way of getting them. There was like the NTSCU unreleased version.
Yeah.
I had to learn like, what disk images were. I didn't know what the hell that was. Found out, about BenQ files. Found out about this software called CDR-Win that handled BenQ files, or what other pieces of software could handle them at the time.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
was learning all about like getting the image. Okay, when I get the image, what do I like? How do I burn this to a disk? Okay, I can burn this to a disk then. Now that's like, hard part's all done. How do I get this to run? And at the time, I didn't know about, well, I'd learned about mod chips, but it was pretty much this is going to require soldering and you
Mm,
need to do it yourself or you need to send it to someone. I'm
right.
like 11 at this point, like 11, 12 years old. I don't know how to solder. I don't trust to send my system anywhere for this. The internet was
Right.
definitely different back then. Um
Send it to some dude on AIM or something.
yeah, yeah, I didn't even have aim.
Right.
So like all that's going on, or maybe not going on, and then there was also like no one in town who I knew who could solder. None of my friends could solder. Didn't have family
Mm.
members who could do it. So then I'm looking more and
Let me
more and
guess.
more into it.
Was it Barber? Did it end up being like a barber?
No, dude, I didn't even get a modded PS1. It was,
Damn.
yeah. So eventually was able to find a site. It was like mod-chip.com,
Mm.
and they sold the Breaker Pro boot disc for $20 that had, the spring
Oh.
and everything. So
Oh yeah.
I convinced my dad to buy it. I still have it downstairs,
Do you
but I
have it?
convinced my dad. I do. Yeah, man.
Nice, dude.
It was for PS1, like PS1, PS1 Slim, and PS2. So like it came with a spring, it came with a tab, and it came with a unlock tool, so you could use it on any of the systems.
Oh, one of those like credit card slide
Yep.
PS2 unlocked.
Yep,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then I learned how to make my own, unlock tool as well using, like, an old credit card or something.
yeah. Nice, dude.
Yeah, so that was, like, years later, just, like, stuff I was looking up for fun, but, no, so I'd had a way to get Thrill Kill, to have the game itself there at that point, and then, eventually convinced my dad to get this boot disc. We picked the cheapest shipping. It took 2.5 months to get to
Oh
us.
no.
It took so long, we honestly thought that we got scammed. And then it finally arrived, and I was so happy. Here's the thing: Thrill Kill does not work well with disk swaps on there. It just the
Oh
way that
really?
it's not a problem anymore because no one does it. But back then,
Right.
it was just the way the engine handled, because that and Wu Tang Shaolin style, they were using the same engine. They both had
Yeah.
the same issues: super long loading times. They didn't freeze, but it was literally even like when your character's about to get electrocuted or you're about to
Uh.
perform a thrill kill, the disc will just like not the game will just freeze for like 5 or 10 seconds. So
Really? And that's
it
only if you did like a swap trick to
yep,
get to it?
and the
Weird.
CD audio didn't play on there.
Oh, that sucks.
Yep. So nowadays, even if you use something like free PSX boot, I'm sure that would work fine because the way it works is, like it resets the TOC, so it's able to load up that music and it should be fine.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case at the time. Either way, when I finally got it, I opened it up. I, set up the spring because I had like I had a 9001 PlayStation. So like also the worst one as
Gotcha,
well too,
yeah.
because I couldn't just do like, the parallel port on there. Um
Were there soft mods for that back then? For the
I
parallel
don't think
port?
so. I don't think
Yeah.
so. There was so people conflate this and people confuse it here because I've had people on my video where it's like reflashing that they're just like,
Mm.
"Oh, you don't even have to do all of this. Just get the gold finger and it does it." It's like, no, it doesn't. The gold finger, it was another like swap type thing, but it pretty much
Uh-huh.
does the same thing where you have to get the gold finger and you have to put a spring in the back and you essentially then just trick the system in the same way.
Right.
Yeah.
But doesn't I mean and to some degree the like mod chips just kind of simulate the swap, uh don't they? Like for the most part, like Mayumi and MM3, it does like a little stop. Like if you're looking at the disc, like if you were to jam it, it's like it just
S-
starts and stops and like starts back up again.
So the PlayStation does that regardless because even you don't even need the swap disc. If you can just
Uh-huh.
block the sensor, you can just swap yourself, which is
Okay.
fun to do. I don't recommend it, but it's fun to do.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it looks
but
kind of
no,
neat.
the long short of those mod chips are they just send a signal to when you boot up a game and like let's say you take Crash Bandicoot, it shows
Uh,
the PlayStation BIOS, and then when the game is booting up it
the
has the
black.
PlayStation logo and it says
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Sony Computer Entertainment America and it says SCEA.
Yeah.
That text right there, that's all a part of of pretty much the checks that are being done on there. So when you have a
Oh,
mod
okay.
chip, you essentially have this device that is just injecting into the PlayStation. It's injecting literally that text string into the PlayStation. So it's like when it's trying to read the data from the disk itself, instead of throwing a violation on there and saying, "Hey, it doesn't have this string that we're looking for, the wobble groove," you have
Yeah,
the
yeah.
chip itself that injects it in.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have noticed. I swear, like when I was working on those, because I know for PS2, with the mod chips on PS2, that's how it's like handled. Like if you were to use like kind of trick like a bunch of sensors and like, or I test with like the lid off to see what the disc is doing a lot of times.
Yeah.
Um, with the like with Mechapoon, if you were to flash that to get like full like PS1 support, like it just spins up, like it doesn't do that stop, like where it like stops the disc and it starts back again. Like Megapoon
Okay.
just keeps spinning. But if you were to like if you're to install like a Modbo or like a legit Matrix Infinity or anything, even the DMS4s that I've installed, like the various chips, they all handle like PS1 backups where it does like a like simulated like swap where it's like the disc spins up and once it's detected it stops and spins back up again. And I think I heard you talk about it in like the Modbo video because there's that really shitty bug on the Matrix clones, like Modbo, Matrix Infinity, whatever. They all have that bug where sometimes PS1 games will, when they stop, they don't start back up again. If
Yes.
you know
Yep.
how like it's like your boot rate is like not great with the Modbos. Yeah, that's where it's failing is when it like does that like stop and like start again. It doesn't start sometimes. I have no idea what the deal is. I know the legit Matrix Infinities don't have that issue. Like they're not gonna like not start back up. It's something to do with the like the hacked up firmware of the like
Hmm.
clone chips. But pretty sure PS1s do that. I could have swore like like if you don't have it modded, it's not gonna like stop and start.
It's
Once
still
you
it still kind of does that, not like a full stop, but like the laser does move and it does slow down at certain points. So you have to like hear, like if you like, I actually recommend like even just like look up like a PS1 swap trick because
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
possible to do with just like a legit disc and then your burn disc or your import or whatever it is.
Like you
And
pull it
like,
out and like pop
yep,
one in like super fast.
yeah,
I've
and
seen
you
videos
and
and it
you got to
looks
do like a
wild.
couple swaps on there. Yeah.
You have to do it multiple times?
Yes. Yeah, you
Oh,
can't
what a
just go
bummer.
from like I think I want to say the order. I don't quite remember, but I because it's been so long since I did it. But I think you like put in the burned one first, and then you put in the legit copy because you're getting the uh like essentially you're
Wobble
getting like the
grooves
wobble
or whatever?
groove. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then once it bypasses that and like it certifies it, then you pop in your burned copy.
Yeah, what a pain in the ass, man. I
Yeah.
guess I was
It's
really lucky having that mod shift one like way, way back in the day.
yep.
But
Yep.
I remember like a bunch of kids would just have like a ton of burned games, or like you hear something like, oh yeah, like my shoe repairsman gave me modded my PS1 for like $20. Or like I went to Domino's the other day, and this guy selling burned copies of PS1 games. Like it was going buck wild when the PS1 was like out. It was like everyone and their grandma, like somebody's grandma's just hacking their PS1.
See, I didn't have that at the time because also I was like the PS1 was kind of getting out at that point.
Yeah,
It
for
was
sure.
old there. Point is, I did have that mod of PS1. Eventually, the next console mod I did was I soft modded my original Xbox after a bunch of
Hell yeah.
research and getting actual replay and stuff. And then like the thing that really just like sent me into the deep end, PSP. Like it-
Yeah.
I found out
I
about
kind of thought
custom
that was
firmware. Dude, I found out about custom firmware before I really looked into a PSP and really, really wanting one. And I just thought it was
yeah.
so fascinating. And that's the thing. The tech side that's always been me. I've always been interested in that. So like
Hell yeah.
even when I got a PSP, I kept it legit for like a month. And then I ended up modding it and I never went back after that. And I
Yeah.
got way in. I got different exploit games. I kind of tried some of the save game stuff. I mean that's how
Would
I
this have been
started on.
Pandora battery era?
No, I did it before. I entered with
Oh.
3.03 firmware with Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories. It was the second time that exploit game came about.
Okay. Yeah,
That's
that
when I entered.
I didn't know about it then. The first time I had heard about it was like the Pandora battery, and
Mhm. That's
some
the
dude
one,
on
like, it seems like
Craigslist selling it for
everyone
like
knows.
$5.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I was the person who, like, I made my own magic memory stick, I made a Pandora battery, and then I was doing that for friends and people at school.
That's rad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to find someone I remember on Craigslist way back then, but I didn't have a PSP, but I was like trying to map it. I was like, get one, and then I'll go to this kid and he'll hook me up for like $5 or something. It was like dirt cheap. I
Yep,
remember when I looked into it, it's just someone will bust
yep.
it out.
Oh, I remember, like, when I worked at, like, a game shop at one point, and, like, I wasn't modding there, but, what was going on? No, my manager had okay, my manager's friend had another friend. I never even met this guy, but like we talked on the phone a couple of times, and he had a broken PSP. And I was like, hey, and they explained how it was bricked, and I was like, dude, like if you can, just bring it over to me, and like I can fix it up. I don't mind. And literally, I came prepared with my magic memory stick with my jig kick, and I remember they gave me the PSP, and then I was riding with my manager somewhere. I think we were going like a game or something, but quite literally, I got into the passenger seat of his truck. Opened up the PSP, popped it all in, flashed over official firmware, and by the time we stopped by at a gas station to get gas, it was unbricked. And I called up the guy. I was like,
Oh,
"Hey, dude,
nice.
like your PSP is all good." And we talked about it a little bit. And I was like, yeah, I'll just get it back to your friend. You don't owe me anything, kind of just doing this for fun here. And even my manager was just like dumbfounded. He's like, dude, I don't know what he did. Like I saw he did like on the drive here, he fixed it. I don't know what he did.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
When your normie friends, you just blow their minds.
exactly. Yup. Man. So I've been wondering about this, but like we've talked about a few different mods and hard mods on, but I guess what would say like if you could isolate it, what would like your favorite or some of your favorites be?
Favorite hard mods?
Oh, or even just like hard mod, just mods in general.
Now that'll flip around depending on what season maybe you catch me, or what I've been doing.
Okay.
If I've been doing too much, but at this point in time, let's see. I'm really enjoying working on original Xboxes. Well, let me preface this by things that like will universally make me want to do a mod less, and that is either way too many fucking screws or a shitload of variations of screws that you need to memorize, working on a laptop or whatever, where it's like this
Oh
one's three
God.
millimeter
Okay.
and that one's 4 millimeter, and if you put the 4 millimeter in the three, you're gonna break through the shell right here. The consoles that use way too many different like screw sizes. The mods might be great, but I don't want to work on this.
That's
The
fair.
Neo Geo CD mods, I've done a few of those SD loaders, and it's a
That looks
perfectly
cool.
fine mod. I like it, but that is one of the that one's got a lot of strikes in the too many screws department. There's so many screws on the Neo
Mhm.
Geo CD, and it just makes me mad. It's inexplicably mad from just like another screw. Are you serious? There's so many, but luckily
I've
they're like all the same size, so it's cool.
I've never opened up one of those. I don't even own one. Like I've seen one in town, and I'm just like,
Mm.
no, I don't need it.
You
I'll be
don't need
good.
it.
I'm not gonna
You,
buy it. I don't need it. I don't need
you
it.
don't need it. Mine's on the shelf. They're a pretty rad system. I like the.
I know.
I've got one of each. I've got the top loader, and they're both modded. Luckily, I got the Furtech like front loader one
Mhm.
last in the last batch. So I've got the front loader and the top loader, and I really like the aesthetics of the top loader. It's just kind of neat. It's a pretty cool early CD system,
Mhm.
like aesthetically pleasing. Just a lot of screws. That's it. Uh, but yeah, I love working on original Xboxes. Like I always love working on original Xboxes.
Oh, those are fun.
They never get old to me. PS2s, like I love them. I love the Slims. I love working on the Slims. I love wiring up the Slims. Modding the Fats. I charge more to mod the Fats because I don't even want to look at a Fat. I don't want to take it open or take
Why?
it apart. I don't know. Like I just they're so much more annoying to work on than the Slims. I mean, because it's just you got to take them off.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean they're. I mean you got to really like reassemble it to like test it. So if you're troubleshooting, like if you ever have to troubleshoot a mod chip install on a Fat, it's so annoying. And
That
depending on the
that's
revision,
fair.
the
Yeah.
early one, like the V4, like the 10 screw ones, like the 10 screw PS2s, those ones, the main board, there's like the sandwich situation. I've only worked on one of these, but it was like the worst. You need to like desolder like a board from like because they're like sandwiched together by pins, like kind of like how the Dreamcast power supply is. Like it's
Oh
two boards
God.
stacked on top of each other and they're soldered together, so you need to desolder it to get in there, and then you like the board underneath it. That's the board that you're installing the mod chip onto. Then you need to reattach that, resolder it, and then for anyone that's gotten this deep into it, the diagram on Quade's site, which is the site with the best SEO for PS2 mod chip
A
installs,
very good site. Yeah.
very good site. The V4 install completely wrong. The diagram is inverted for the
For
BIOS
real.
wiring, so it's like it's completely backwards. So uh, that was my issue. I installed it. It wasn't getting the matrix menu, and then I was digging around, and there was a comment in there like, "Hey, your diagram's wrong." And they had posted the right one, so you got to desolder the board again, get in there, and do the correct wiring. so so that yeah, the V4, if I can hopefully I can save someone down the line and say just don't even bother.
Just don't do it. Just use a
just
hard drive. Use free
Yeah,
McBoot, something
yeah,
like
you
that.
don't need a mod chip in that thing. You'll be fine. Those things really suck to work on, but yeah, I love Fats. Don't get me wrong. I just like I'd prefer to work on Slims.
Wow,
I don't love taking apart and putting back together fat PS2s. They're kind of an annoying console to disassemble and reassemble.
that's fair.
Compared to
Yeah.
others, just a lot of screws. But I love it. I get a really cathartic feeling of like doing the wire management, the whole wire porn thing, like trying to make it look nicer and nicer.
Hmm.
Obviously, yeah, inspired by like Paul over at like Retro Gaming Arts, Voltar, all those guys who I fixed retro. Everyone who's just like all those like like images. They're just such an aesthetic mod, like a really like
Yeah. And I
that.
think even the legacy of them to even like Jin. Like I don't
I've
know.
heard of this guy, and I've seen his, and
I
nobody's as good as this guy. I've seen this
I
guy's pictures. Like everyone
I
I
don't.
just mentioned, they can't
Yeah.
even touch that guy. His those pictures, those images are insane.
I don't know what happened to him. I think he's just quiet on the internet now, but, like, yeah, he was, like, a PS2, like, hard modding legend.
It still is. I mean, I from what I've heard, because people have told me about this guy because I posted many PS2 pictures, and I wasn't around when this guy was doing his thing. But it's always like, have you seen this guy's stuff? And like people send it to me, and everyone tells me like this is the guy who started the trend of super hyper aesthetic PS2 installs. And I see this guy's work, and it's just everyone who's done it since, like I'm nowhere near like one of the best people around doing these, like photogenic wise. Like everyone who's done it, who is like amazing, who does work that blows your mind, like that Jin guy's stuff, it just shits on it.
And
Like it's so good.
and and you gotta realize too, that was back when, like, dude, we were like, people were not really rocking digital cameras like that. So it's like
Yeah.
this guy had to get himself a digital camera. He had to take these photos with like a digital
Hmm.
camera, which was like great at the time, but not really all that good now, and
Yeah.
then get them onto his computer and
Yeah.
probably compress the hell out of them then because you can't upload them directly to like a web form or something. It's going to say, hey, you can't upload your 2 MB image here. You have to compress it down to 256 kilobytes, or you got to find a host for that. So he really went through effort for that.
Fuck it. What's his name's Jin, right? Is that how you say?
Jinn, yeah, Jin.
Jin. And shout out Jin, the godfather of PS2 aesthetic PS2 modding. Hopefully we can maybe we can let's find a gallery somewhere and link it, because this guy is like the reason that you know these PS, as far as I've heard, like from everyone I've heard,
Yes.
like this guy is the guy who made PS2 modding look nice.
Hell
And
yeah.
everyone who's come since has, like, to some degree, you know been inspired by that, and no one's even come close. And it's crazy, like, because his shit
Mhm.
just it's just crazy, like
It's
how nice his
beautiful.
installs look. It's art. And that's what I love about the PS2 modding, is just like it feels more like art than it even matters. Like you don't need to install a mod. Like it has its purposes that it'll do better than other things. Even like if you have like and Mechapoon on like honestly has its like benefits over mod chips in certain scenarios, but it's the aesthetics, it's the art of it, it's the craft of it that I love.
Mhm.
Like even if it's completely irrelevant, there's still a place for a really sexy mod chip install. Even if you don't need it, even if something else does it cooler, they're still
That's
really fun
fair.
to look at. Like and do. It's like really like if you're not having to troubleshoot it later, like the act of putting all those wires together, making it look nice, like planning ahead and being like, how is this all going to line up? Like that's what I really love when I do ones where I'm just like thinking about like all the placement, because I've done so many where it's just like if I put it here, the wire is going to go like this, where it's all just kind of like mapping out in your mind before you even install it. Like those ones I really like where you're really going all in and like being like, screw it, I'm going to spend like 6 hours doing a PS2 mod because because I'm fucking, don't want to do anything else. I just want to like make a really beautiful looking PS2. I really love those. But the PS2s it's one of those things where it's just like when I'm in the mood to do them, like I love them, and when I've got to do them and I don't want to do them, I don't love them.
That's fair.
But yeah, I like those. Original Xbox 360s. I got real burnt out on a long time ago,
Okay.
and the customer base for people who want 360s can be a little a little Call of Duty liking, a
Man,
little
Modzville and I
a
were
little rough.
talking about this before the show. Yeah, I will say it, man. It's like it's. I've also noticed this a lot. I don't know if you've had this, but um, the people who want Moto 360, I'm not saying everyone, but I've just noticed a lot of people. Like if you like open up services or something, you're trying to talk with people. You're trying to sell
Mhm.
one, or you're trying to model one up.
Yeah.
A lot of people want one. A lot of people want a Moto 360. not a lot of people want to actually go through with it. Like, they don't really want
Dick
to
you
pony
around.
up the money, or they don't want to
Yeah.
send out the system. It's like, it seems like everyone wants one, but not all too many people actually will, like, put the effort forth into getting one.
Yeah, no, I've been like legit like chargeback scam from some like douchebag like trying to get a
Unbelievable.
360. And I mean, it's like that's where you're gonna find that kind of a thing. Like not everybody who wants a modded 360 is a dick, but holy lord, like I don't know what it is about the 360, but it's just so prevalent in
Mhm.
that space. And yeah, man, I don't know. I
Yeah.
like doing the RGHs. I miss doing the J tags. Those were really fun. Like that's always such a treat when
Mhm.
if you just randomly. I mean, just seeing like the blades dashboard is just such a like oh just so nice. Like
That's
fucking so
fair.
rare. Or the whatever the dashboard was between
NXE,
it,
I love
NXE.
NXE.
I love
Oh, that's my
NXE too.
favorite. That's the goated
Freestyle
one for me.
dash.
Like, all
That
these
one's
all
really
these
nice.
people, they love blades, and, like, I get blades, don't get me wrong, like, I respect it, but, like, NXE is just, like, perfect, like, peak Xbox 360 for me.
That was really good. I got locked out of being able like I barely had my 360 for that long at the time. I've always been a bit late, never had the most money. I'm used to roughing it, but
That's fair.
well, a couple years into a console's release, I'll get one. So I had just gotten mine, and then I think it was on I don't know what torrent site I was on at the time, but it was probably I don't know what it was, but it dropped early, the NXE, and it was just like all over the place. I was like, "Oh, neat! I'll just install it." Like you could have installed it on any 360. Then I
Oh, I
installed
know
it,
what you're
and I
talking
was
about.
I was locked out of being able to go onto Xbox Live for until it actually legitimately came out.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, yeah, somebody just leaked out the update file. I did that with
Yeah,
the Connect dashboard for no good reason. Not on my main 360, I had, like, a side 360, and I was like,
yeah.
"Oh, this is cool. It's got
I
the
want to
Connect
check it out.
dashboard." But or no, it was the Metro dashboard, that was it. It had the Metro dash before it came out.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did that for the I guess NXE between Blades and NXE, and I thought it was so cool. And then I'm just immediately licking my wounds because I can't fucking log in for
Oh,
2
man.
months or whatever.
It was, I mean, NXE, it was literally next Xbox experience or new Xbox experience. It was so cool. Just
It's a
like,
great dash. It still holds up really well.
yeah.
And yeah, I mean Metro's the new one. That one is I mean it's
It's
fine, but it's more just
mm,
targeted towards like how can we make this more like shitty for everyone? And
it's like
like
a Metro version 2. There was 2 versions of it because they went
okay.
Blades, NXE, Connect. I hated the Connect one.
I don't
Um,
even remember that one.
it very white. It was very white, very flat. It was like the Wii.
Okay. They
Except
were
the Wii is,
really all trying to be the Wii at that point in time. It's kind of
yeah, because they
crazy.
had the Connect out and everything.
And the
So
PS Move, right? They
yeah,
were
everyone was trying to be the Wii, except the Wii is, like, nice and charming, and, like, it has got, I don't like, that system, that's the Wii itself, it has the best music. Like,
Oh,
it
it
just
does.
wins for, like, if there's a category for console, like, music, like, not the games on
Yeah.
it, the console itself, like, the Wii just kills it.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, that could be playing in anybody's living room at any time and like you're not going to get annoyed by the Wii music. It's just nice.
It
It's just
is.
nice. I mean, I would much rather have a Wii just like randomly on somewhere than
Mhm.
silence. Like I'd just be like, "Oh yeah,
Dude.
this is like living in a sunset in here, you know?"
I don't know if you've heard this. I've heard this from few people. Even my girlfriend has said this. Her brother had an original Xbox. She
Mm.
said the Xbox scared her because, like, just
Really?
dude, the super loud boot up, and then just like the ambient, like, talking and weird noises and stuff in the background.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
she said she would hear her brother just have the Xbox idling, and it was a scary sound.
It is very unpleasant the more I think about it. I
Yeah.
haven't like since I've been using an original X like growing up I only had like one friend with like they had an original Xbox. They didn't give a shit about gaming and it was just their I think it was like their uncle's and
Hmm.
it was just there for like ripping CDs. So it had like
It did have
10
a, yeah.
albums on it and we would just listen to those albums and that's all it was used for. And I didn't end up with an original Xbox till way later, and immediately modded it. So I really have like very minimal time spent on the original BIOS or original dash, because
I got you.
everything's so much better. I mean, XBMC for gamers is like probably like the best front end on any console, at least, like in my opinion. Like even like Aurora, I mean, because it's basically Aurora but just
Hmm.
better, like it works better.
I'm
Like,
still one of those people. It's old school for me. I do Unleash X.
you do Unleash X?
I do Unleash X. I ride Unleash X hard. I still use it
Hell
after all
yeah.
these years. I love it. It's just it's a classic.
It's a very good dash.
It is that middle ground. It's a perfect middle ground between, hey, this is a stock Xbox,
Mm.
but better. Because
Have
like
you
it
seen
still
that
has the
one? What
look
is
it's
it?
still looking for.
UIX? Is it?
UIX Lite. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I haven't set that up, but it looks really nice.
I haven't messed with that. Shout out to Malenko and all. I know he's a cool dude, but
Yeah, Malenko's rad.
yeah, yeah. From what I understand, UI like Team UIX was like, worked on like way back in the day and then, disbanded. And it was pretty much like Malenko had been kind of just finding some old people like related to it and kind of brought it back in 2020 because of lockdown and because he's like, hey, this was cool. And there's more stuff that I want to do with it. And none of it is like documented properly, like at all. So like
So
the
he
new
he full on brought it back.
he's been bringing it back. Yeah, he's been like adding more stuff to it. Like I'm sure I know there's other contributors to it.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know their names off the top of my head, unfortunately. I mainly know Malenko as the UIX guy. But he does UIX Lite, so that's like the new version of it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I hadn't seen it until like the light started popping up, and I'd seen
Yep,
it on Twitter, and it just looks like a very I mean, it seems very pure to like the original dash, but with more opening it up to like
it
new
is.
features,
Yeah.
which is nice. So
Yeah. It's
yeah, that
like,
one
what
seems
if you
cool.
would
I want to play
use
with it.
like yeah, it's like it's pretty much it's using the original like the stock dashboard but adding features to that as opposed to creating a whole new dash. But that's why I was kind of saying that with Unleash X because it still has the feel of it.
Mm.
Like quite literally the feel, except it's blue instead of green, and then it has like your IP address and everything. And I've never gotten over that. I love it.
It's a great dash, yeah.
It
And
is
then Evolution is pretty damn close too, I feel like, right? Like I've seen like
from
there's two. There's like Evolution Dash, and then
There's Evolution X, yeah, and I
Unleash.
know there's been
Yeah.
some other dashboards as well too. From what I understand, Evolution X wasn't supposed to be like a full-blown dashboard in the way it is, but it kind of sort of evolved to that. So that's why we kind of have it how it is there, and it feels like a little bit clunky, a little bit developer-y, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I've always
Yeah, I
just
like them both.
gone to Unleash X because I heard it was, like the user-friendly one, and like also I thought it looked cooler, and I'm like, cool, I'm using this.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, as soon as I got XBMC for gamers and like got it set up, like with like the artwork and everything, and then
Mhm.
especially once I started doing like the RAM upgrades, because you definitely get a performance boost out of that,
Oh
or it
yeah.
feels like it. And then then when SirBIOS came out with the UDMA 5 support, it's just fucking smooth as butter. It's like even way smoother. I've got one of those 1.4 gigahertz boards with the
Ooh,
RAM
nice.
mod, and it's so smooth on that. Like going through it with all the artwork, it's just like snappy as hell. Way snappier than like even Aurora on a 360. Just everything's popping in nicely. But those consoles kind of suck. The 1.4 gigahertz ones, it's kind of a bummer. It's one of those, like, if you get one, you want to have it as like it's just it's like a niche gimmicky thing that you have on the side there. You can't have it as your main Xbox because it's just so many games are broken and can't be fixed. Like you can patch games to play on it, but a good chunk of them are never going to work. Like any of the GTAs play at like 5x speed, you
Oh
know,
wow. Okay.
like a bunch of them. So some games that work with it, I hear people like tinkering with them and like kind of like pushing the limit. Like I think increasing like bump it up to like 720 and get better performance and all of that. But so many of the bangers are just like if you got an original Xbox that can't play any of the Rockstar games, that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's fair then. I think I know there was that Friend Tech Xbox where it was like a professionally upgraded Xbox that had, like the 1.4 or 1.5 gigahertz mod.
yeah, I think
But
it
I'm
was
pretty sure
1.4.
because of that, um because of that issue you're describing, I'm pretty sure that's why it had a switch as well too, to switch between like the stock clock speed and the overclock speed.
So mine's got the Switch. Shout out Kakul. So Kakul helped me
Okay.
because I'm an idiot when it comes to like reading diagrams and stuff like that. So
Okay. All right.
I have one of those, and I had it in my X3 CP console, and I asked him like if he thought there was a way to wire up like the protect button to toggle that CPU switch,
Mhm.
and we got it set up and tested with a multimeter. It was doing what it was supposed to do, and that switch doesn't do anything. Like that switch is supposed to like act like it underclocks it. Like in my experience, it does nothing. But mine's the N64 Freak interloper board is the one that I got. Weird ass story with how I got that thing. Like
Okay.
I bought a dude. I bought a. I didn't buy a dude. My
Yeah, you better not be.
bad. I wasn't buying dudes. I was on. I bought a fucking X3 Pro Switch on eBay from like someone out of Germany, and like a month, 2 months later, I get like a big package from DHL, and it's just an Xbox board with an upgraded CPU and RAM, and it had an XBlast light on it, and
Okay.
I didn't complain. That was fine. It's just what I wasn't like, hey, you sent me the wrong thing from Germany. I wasn't about to go through all those, but I just accepted that's probably even better than an X3 Pro Black Pro Switch. So
That is
yeah,
nice.
I don't know how he made that mistake. Why he didn't even message me like, hey, I think I sent you this crazy board.
And
But
it's like,
yeah,
okay, I
dude.
guess I have this board now. Thank you.
Yeah, dude. I didn't realize like I was actually kind of bummed when I first got it. I was like, oh, but I wanted that Switch.
That's
This is
fair.
cool, I guess. But yeah, no, I mean it's like it's a pain in the
Man,
ass.
that
Like
like food moment though, that kind of reminds me of like what happened with one of my friends. It was like a couple years ago. I was staying with him for a bit, and he was like really wanting Pizza Hut pizza, and I was all down for it. And I was like, wait, we live in like this town. We can get this much nicer pizza. And he agreed to it, and we did, and we got it, and it was like amazing. And it was impressive. It took us like days to work through it because we're just like, wow, we thought we would have like demolished it, but like there was enough here that it took us a while to get through it here.
yeah,
And
you're
then
just
even
hanging out eating pizza for a couple days.
dude, we were living like 12-year-olds for like a
Hell
week. It
yeah.
was so fun, but so bad all at the same time. But what happened was like after I left, eventually he's like, I think I'm gonna get the Pizza Hut. And I was like, well, we had like the other pizza. He's like, I know, but like, and I appreciate it, but like, I'm craving like Pizza Hut, And I was like, I
Yeah.
get it. I totally get
It's
that. So I'm like,
very
I see the
specific
disappointment.
taste.
Yes, yeah, he wants all that grease.
Yeah, no, he had it in his mind. He was fiending for Pizza Hut. You got to scratch that itch.
Exactly. That's fair.
Not every pizza is Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need a really shitty pizza.
Sometimes you just need a really shitty pizza.
It's a motto for
So
life. That'd be a good tagline. I want that on my gravestone.
sometimes you just need a really shitty pizza. You've
Yeah,
you've heard it here. This is where it is.
that's a good gravestone line.
Perfect. So dude, it's been awesome hanging out. I know we're at like 2 hours right now. I
Hell
do
yeah.
typically ask a few things near the end. One of the things I wanted to ask here was what games have you been playing?
Lately, on Steam Deck,
All
I was
right.
playing a good bit of Demon Souls on the PS3 emulator. That's really all I've
Oh,
used it for.
okay.
But Demon Souls on the PS3 emulator was working really nice. There's quite a bit of you get some weird like freezing up when it's doing the like shaders and stuff. But for the most part, it's really really nice. So been enjoying that on Steam Deck. Kind of fell off that and started playing 7 Days to Die again. Been on a bit of a bender with that.
Okay, never
Trying to
played
get
that.
some. Do you like first person survival games like PC games, Rust,
I actually
Daisy?
haven't played any of those. I'm not. I'm still kind of in my. I'm a little better, but I'm not still kind of in my antisocial space of like playing online. Like I only play online with like a few people, and it's like I don't know. My friends and I will have like a weekly like Mario Kart or
Yeah, yeah.
Mario Party session.
What about like I mean some of them are like have you ever been on a Minecraft bender? I think this is where like all of it starts.
Oh my god, dude, get this! I can't do Minecraft.
You can't?
It
You're just
puts me to
not
sleep.
Yeah, it
I
is
don't
it is
know.
a relaxing game.
Yeah, I don't know how like I've never really been interested in it, and like there's people who just play for hours. I'm like, dude, like you could even like put a gun up to my like to my head and be like, play this, don't fall asleep. Within like 20 minutes, I'm dozing off.
Yeah. Yeah, it is that music isn't going to help that either. It's
Yep.
very tranquil.
And then also it's kind of just like but to me, it's not my kind of game. It's just kind of boring. So it's like you got the nice, relaxing music, and the game is
Yeah.
kind of boring, and I'm literally nodding off.
So 7 Days to Die might scratch that, but it is all kind of similar. You got the crafting, you've got the resource gathering, you've got all of that, but it's kind of got a nice it's got a nice twist of like it's like first person like survival game like that, but it's got one like a tower defense little twist that they throw on it. So every 7 days there's like a zombie horde that
Oh
comes like
wow.
all fuck, what was that mid 2000s movie that where it's like big deal with
28
the
days
zombies?
later, 28
28
weeks
days
later.
later.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
it's
good.
it's like
Such a
those
good
style.
series.
I love that. That was such a good movie. A lot of product placement, but who cares? It's like that. It's like every 7 day or at night, the zombies are like 28 day later zombies that they'll run at you during the day. They're slower. Nighttime, on the seventh day, you get like a blood moon, and then it's just like waves of zombies attacking your base. So you got like fortify your base with a bunch of traps and like try to come up with a way of like how you're gonna like exploit the AI because it's a pretty gnarly game. It's pretty hard. They've really ramped up the difficulty, but I really like it. It's a really hot mess. There's so many bugs. It's been in early access for like a decade, and they've like completely changed the game like multiple times. It's like, which I kind of love, man. I don't know. There's something about those early access games, like when they're like constantly being updated and they're like changing their minds. They're like, no, fuck it, back to the drawing board. Like we'll do it live, and then it's like you come back like a few years later, and it's like either a completely like can totally overhaul new graphics or significantly worse. You never know with those games,
Mhm.
but I really like them. Been meaning to pick up Valheim again. There's a new update, but other than that, not much. Sometimes just picking up Tony Hawk. I'm always playing Tony Hawk at some degree. My favorite pick up and play kind of like
That's
mindless
fair. You're talking
game.
about like the 1 and 2 HD.
Yeah, I've been playing that on Switch a bit, but I've also will pull up the Dreamcast emulator on my Steam Deck, and
Okay.
TS. I think 2 is probably my favorite game. Favorite of those, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, specifically on the Dreamcast. I really like that version. That one's like
All right.
chef's kiss. Original Xbox remake's pretty good too, but it's a little wonky. Like you can like the mechanic, the physics seem a little off in that one. I don't know what's up, but
That's fair.
uh, yeah. What about you? You been rocking anything?
I have been, and I was gonna say real quick when you were talking about like some games going back as well too, like with early access. It's funny because I was thinking about this. I'd even like written this down at one point, but I just kind of had the thought at one point earlier this week of like games in beta sometimes being better. Did you ever follow or hear about SOCOM Confrontation on PS3?
No, I've never even heard of that.
So I mean that shows how poorly it did. So like SOCOM, like super revered series on PS2. It had like
Yeah,
3 or 4 games on there. It had 2 good games on the PSP. Like people loved it. So then people were like, I remember when it came out, like people were like fiending for it on the PS3. And it was odd. I've never played it. I don't know the details of it. Apparently, from what I've been told, it had an open beta and it was amazing. Like beautiful, super well done, super fun, amazing customization, just like perfect. Any
yeah,
complaints people had, they were patched pretty quickly. Like people were hyped for this game. People were just they were in disbelief. They're like, no, it's in beta and it's a free open beta, but it's incredible. Like this game is awesome. I'm so excited for it. I got it pre-ordered. I'm telling my friends to get it. And it was really leaning into the social aspect of it. So I think even the original SOCOM on PS2, you could buy it bundled with a headset and you could play online with that, and it
Mm,
really pushed it forward. So SOCOM Confrontation came bundled with a Bluetooth headset, and it was going to, push that forward as well.
yeah,
I don't know the details, but apparently months later when the game finally dropped retail, a bunch of people picked it up and they said the best thing about the game was getting the headset included. Like somehow every single thing that they loved about the beta and that was done well was taken
yeah.
out. And the game just died super quickly. And I think from what I understand, a lot of the stuff that people loved was patched in by like 6 or 9 months later, but at that point, like everyone
It
just
was
moved
dead.
on. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why, like right here, we're having this conversation where it's like you didn't even know it came out.
No, I had no clue. I also was. I mean, I don't know if I was like super. Like I've had my moments where I just like I'm not gaming much, and then I come back into it, and I'm like all in, and then I like don't do it for years, or I'm like not keeping up on stuff
That's
here
fair.
and there. And even now, like I'm not like Elden Ring. I played the shit out of, but as far as like what else has come out this year, it's like I know God of War came out. People seem to like that, but I'm very much not like I'm not interested in everything.
That's
Like
fair.
I got the games I love. I love the Souls series. I like my Tony Hawks. I like my survival games, and but for the most part, I'm like I don't know. I'm very I've got my hand full of things that I really like.
That's fair.
You
You know
know,
what you like.
I know what I like.
Yeah.
Stick with what I like.
Yeah. No, I think for me here, let's see, I've played some stuff. So I actually finished Near Automata here recently, which
Was that
was
good?
dude, it was so good. It was so good. And I didn't 100% it, but I finished it. So I got like the true ending and
Oh,
everything.
nice, dude.
Yeah. I played it on Switch, which it was a fantastic port on there as well.
What did
So
it
it was
start? Was that a PS4 game or where did that start?
PS4, PC, Xbox One. Yeah. And then it got ported to Switch here pretty recently.
What kind of style is it? Like Bayonetta style, like beat 'em
Uh,
up like that, or how?
kind of. So it is kind of it does this crazy genre blending. There is like shmup moments on there. There is some
Uh,
like side scrolling action. There is open world kind of sort of Bayonetta type things as well too. It's the gunplay, the attacking on there. It's so fun, and also it's kind of an RPG at the same time.
that sounds wild. Okay, I'll check that out.
It is just I was talking with one of my friends about it, like how successful this game was, and he actually brought up a good point because he was saying it was around the time because the first one came out uh in like 2017, and it was around the time people were really putting Japan on the map again for
Mhm.
RPGs, and it was like the normies, I guess you could say would. So because my friend brought up, he was like, that was when Persona 5 like really blew up, and I was like, yeah, there was Persona 5, there was Nier, and like first of all, Nier is an amazing game. Like it helps that it is an incredible game. It is a very
Yeah.
good game at minimum, but then it was also weird and like just the right amount of weird to get people interested. Like not like I don't know, like an erogi dating sim weird. Like the
Yeah,
world
yeah.
isn't ready for that. But it was weird enough and like, hey, you have this character who, she looks a certain way on here, and this game has like 50 different endings, and it has like 4 or 5 different genres of play, and it's just like nonstop action, and it has all these other odd things in the story, and it was like just weird enough to get people interested and kind of sort of out of their comfort zone, but still be able to enjoy it and stomach it pretty easily.
Nice, man. Yeah, sometimes you've got like those lightning in a bottle, like weird blend games. I don't know. I'm big on all those those Souls games, and that is very much one of those fluky things where it's like comes from Japan, but it's like uh like their idea of like Western, like kind of like folklore kind of stuff. Like
That's
for
fair.
like the original Dark Souls, I guess would be that, like where it was like a storybook from like Western stuff, but it's inspired. It's coming from Japan. It's got all these weird mechanics that's like no one's ever seen before, and it just ended up like blowing up. Like, but on paper, it's like, those, like, whoever greenlighted that was probably like, this isn't going to do well at all. This is insane. But you get those weird lightning in a bottle things where you get something like just weird enough, but it's got all the right formulas, and people just end up falling in love with it.
Yeah, actually, funny enough, even when you said like not being greenlit on there, apparently that happened with Nier. Like the main, I don't know his name, but like the main guy in charge of it, he has enough clout at Square that he was able to do this. But he said he's like, hey, let me make this game, and then I'll do whatever you want afterwards. But if you don't let me make Nier Automata, I'm quitting. And
Hell
they
yeah.
greenlit it. Yeah, and because apparently there was one game before, well, I guess technically two, there was Nier that didn't do super well. And then
Hmm.
there was Nier Replicant, which was only in Japan. And it was like the game's developed a cult following, but Nier Automata blew up like in the mainstream. It sold like 7 million copies, which it's like, this is, it doesn't, also, it's not really like a Square Enix type game that you would really see at the time. And by that,
Hmm.
I mean, it didn't have, I mean, it did have DLC on there, but it wasn't like super egregious. It didn't have any multiplayer. It didn't have anything else that they could really sell you. It was just a really solid single player game.
Those are getting harder and harder, or those are rarer and rarer, where
Yeah,
they just make a game.
exactly. Yeah, so I love it when it happens. Yeah, love to
Me
support it,
too,
but
man. I'm super jaded on like modern gaming when it comes to, like, they're trying to take away the disc drives or whatever, so there's no physical games. They want to
yup,
just keep selling you crap, and it's gonna keep going that way until people like push back. Like, if you get a PS5, get one with the disc drive, even if you're gonna be a dummy and only buy digitally. Like, just,
exactly.
don't be a
That's a
puppet
good
to
piece of
these
advice.
corporations. I don't know. I definitely feel strongly about that. Like, get physical media, because
Absolutely.
yeah, they can pull the plug on you at any time, like for whatever reason. Like, somebody, like, you kick somebody's ass at Call of Duty, and then they go and they get some sort of like flagging against your account down. Then who knows, if you give it up to them, maybe they'll nuke your account and you've lost everything you've purchased
And
because you've
man,
dunked on somebody.
and I've seen that on the 360. That's why I'm so physical with it as well too. I mean, I've seen it for years. I have seen
Yeah,
it for so long. So that's true.
you don't want to give them that power, man. You buy all digital, it's like you lose your account. It's one thing if you mod your console and you lose your account. It's like, you know what you're kind of getting into, but
For sure.
you never know. Like, they only benefit from, like, if you've got thousands of dollars and they ban your account, and then you're willing to go back on there and buy it all over again. Like, it's like they're not going to stop doing it.
Exactly.
Um, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they've got
no,
too much power, man.
exactly. We just got to enjoy our single player games where we can.
Damn right.
Yeah.
Dime a
But yeah, there
dozen.
was there was that I was playing like some friends and I we kind of do like a weekly game thing. We're playing a bit of Streets of Rage 4, but also like Mario Kart 8 is in rotation. Mario Party Superstars has been the big one. Uh
Dude, Mario
actually
Kart, that game pisses me off so much. There's no franchise like that makes me madder than Mario Kart.
it's so
Uh,
fun though. But I
it's
get that.
so fun, but
That
it's a fun game, but it's just so
th-
unfair that it's
s-
like very aggravating. I had a guy who hit me up about it, like a Switch he wanted fixed, and he had like a smash screen.
was a
I
Mario
was
Kart.
I was telling one of my other buddies about this guy, and that he had smashed his screen. He's just like, "How do you smash your Switch screen?" It's just like, "Have you ever played Mario Kart?" It's incredibly unfair. I mean, that's got to be it. I didn't ask, but I know in my heart of hearts that it's Mario Kart
That was
related.
That was Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Amazing and awful at the same time. No, that
Yeah.
was funny enough. Last night, that was actually happening, not on Mario Kart, but with Mario Party with one of my friends. I felt so. So here's the thing, man. I tell people I'm like I'm not really good at games. I'm really not all that good. Mario Party though, for some reason, I do pretty well with it because like, well, when I'm playing like with my friend group, because I kind of just like when I don't try at all, I just keep getting good rolls. I'm doing all right with the mini games. I usually score pretty high.
Mm.
And then some of my friends will get annoyed because they're like, "Man, you're saying you're not trying at all." I'm like, "I'm honestly not. I'm just having a good time talking to you guys and I'm just really relaxed." One of my
Having a good
friends
time
though,
shitting on you guys.
I
Ooh.
du oh, dude, one of my friends almost walked into this. Well, he kinda did. I felt so bad, like, I yelled about this last night. He got an incredible roll. He got, like, a 26 or something, and
Dang.
then he fit and, like, literally the very last round, like, he gets, like, a 26 roll, and he lost. He got in 4th place because he ended up doing 2 actions that drained him of all of his coins, and I'm just like, that is so dirty. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry that happened. Like, I watched that. That is dirty. And I was just like screaming watching this.
Oh man, yeah, I love hate those games because that is like the story of the like you get punished for doing really well and then you just
Yep.
get wrecked. It's all luck. It's like
Yeah.
random number generator the game, but they're funny. But unfair games like that will like legitimately piss me off if I'm like first place kicking ass in Mario Kart. Playing it by the books, but they've got it set up so some noob can come in and win, like just because you get a blue
Yep.
shell or some shit.
I
Uh,
think honestly, I think it might have ruined his night a little bit, and I think he just kind of had to like eat his sorrow. And he said he was making cinnamon rolls afterwards.
ruin his whole week.
Yeah, I
Stole his
maybe
stars.
that might have happened, and I'm just like, man, I'm sorry. I'm just like because I'm sitting here having a grand time just hanging out with my friends. So
Yeah, like you motherfucker. He's still seething somewhere.
he might be. I need to check on him.
You got to check
Uh,
on him. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm doing that. I'm still doing my Ring Fit Monday through Friday, so that's kind of how I get my cardio in and everything. And then 13 Sentinels, I've been playing that again on Switch. So
What is
again, one of
that?
those, another one of those great weird games that is just weird enough where it's like still accessible. A solid single player game, no extra DLC attached to it or anything. It's from Atlas, and it is this crazy like it's kind of real-time strategy, tower defense, RPG, visual novel, mech combat all in
You,
one
you broke my brain.
with oh dude, this game will
With time
break your
travel. Oh god
with this
damn it.
game will break your brain.
Yeah.
But it is so good, and it's one of those games like looking at the reviews, looking at videos, I would not have been into it, but when I played it, I'm like, this is addictive. This is so
Sucked you
good.
in.
Yeah, so I recommend
Yeah.
that 13 Sentinels.
13 Sentinels on Switch, he says.
Switch and PS4.
Nice. What's your
Yeah.
favorite Switch revision before we get off of this?
Ooh, OLED.
OLED?
I got my OLED. I know I've never tried to mod one. I might feel a
Yeah,
little bit
yeah.
differently that way, but like I'm really into the Switch. I like to play it portably. So like when the
Yeah.
OLED was announced, I actually like immediately pre-ordered it because I'm like, this is actually pretty much exactly what I want. Like I tapered my expectations. I'm like, we're not gonna be the next pro model we're getting is gonna be the Switch 2. Like that's what's gonna be. But like this is close to the pros we'll get. And it's like, okay, it is sturdier. It feels nicer. It has a bigger screen and it has a much nicer screen. Like as someone who plays portably a lot, this is
Mm.
great.
Yeah, it looks that screen is beautiful. I was really apprehensive
Gorgeous.
about getting the like I was so not enthusiastic like when it came. I wasn't like either like oh there's going to be a pro model like I wasn't buying any of that drinking any of that Kool-Aid, but when it came out I was just kind of like 50 but it's got a screen whatever. But once I got one and I had it in my hand and I was looking at it, I was on board. Yeah, the
Mhm.
OLED looks really, really nice. But form
Yeah.
factor wise, I really love the light. I like
Oh, the light is
love
just
it.
so comfy. It's
It's
cute, it's
such a
comfy, it
good
works.
as a portable console. Like not like screen aside,
Yes.
it's got like a not great screen. It doesn't have like it's missing like the gyros, right? So like fuck Breath of the Wild, you can't even do some of those puzzles or whatever. It's got its issues, but as a portable console, like if I was going on a trip, I wouldn't take my Steam Deck. That thing is bulky. I'd
It's
feel like a
big.
douchebag,
Dude, yeah, okay,
going
hey,
around with that.
you're talking to someone who's traveled with a PS5, so I can travel with a Steam Deck.
That's
I don't recommend traveling with a PS5. You put it into a carry-on suitcase, it takes up like
yeah,
80% of the suitcase. It's huge.
yeah. That thing's does it tower over the PS3 like
It does.
AO1?
It makes the PS3. I'll take a photo for you like at one point and send it, but it makes the
Yeah,
PS3 fat look acceptable. Like it looks small. Yeah. On
Jesus
top of that,
Christ.
just if you're traveling in an airport with the PS5 and you run that thing through TSA, then you have this added paranoia because everyone is looking at it and people are
Right.
asking you about it. And I'm just like, do not distract me. Do not let me take my eyes off it because I know there's about 20 people here who want to snatch that because they're still hard to find 2 years later.
It's insane, man. Like I've given up. I'll get one when there's a slim, like at
That's
this
fair.
point, because it's like, yeah, it shouldn't be this hard this long later to get a console that's
It's
like got like
it's
5 games.
ridiculous. There's people who
Yeah,
are still on their PS4s right now, not
yeah,
because of budget constraints, but because they can't easily buy a PS5.
yeah. And if you do get one, it's like bundled with a bunch of crap you don't want.
That's fair.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, man. I'm hopefully the slim is like at least as big as the launch PS3, because Jesus Christ, man, those things are big.
Yeah, we're making the launch PS3 look small now.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's so much more expensive than like other generations. It's
Yeah.
kind of nice. I don't
Yeah.
know, man. It's just if there wasn't any exclusives, I would have like no interest. Like if it didn't have Demon Souls, like
Right.
that's the only thing that like makes me kind of want one. But that is like there's a lot of money for like a remake of a game that's like the worst of like all of those games. you know,
Exactly. Yeah,
like Demon Souls kind of sucks. Like
I will say
it's.
though, I will say if you're into PS4, if you really like the ecosystem, the
Mhm.
PS5 is the best PS4 you can get.
Yeah, well, I've got a 9.0 like Pro that I got recently that is pretty neat.
That's
But
fair. Those are cool. The jailbroken ones are cool, but like when you talk about like performance and
yeah, yeah,
everything, and just like that game support there, no, it plays PS4 games immaculately. And there's like games that have specific. They're not PS5 remakes, but there's
yeah.
PS4 games that have PS5 specific patches.
Do you
So
know
like
Bloodborne has a six? Does it have a legit 60
it doesn't have a
FPS
legit
patch?
one. Nah, man, you need a jailbroken system for that. So
Damn,
that's where.
still,
Yep, yep, yeah. They're
damn,
not gonna make a patch for that, and I'm not even saying that to poo poo on anyone. I'm just like, no, they're
yeah.
not gonna do it.
No,
It's
why
it's
would they?
disappointing.
It's like 10 years
Yeah,
old
but
almost.
there's been games like well, Ghost of Tsushima now is a PS5 version, but it got unlocked on PS5 for the PS4 version.
Uh,
Horizon Zero Dawn got that. God of War 2018 got that as well. So like
yeah.
recently I replayed God of War and I was dumbfounded that I was playing a PS4 game. Like
It was that cool.
it's so buttery at 60 frames and it
Damn.
still looks beautiful. It handles well. That was the last game I've been playing, by the way. I finished up Ragnarok just like a couple nights ago, and just masterpiece of a game right there.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, I gotta play those new God of Wars. I think the most recent one I played was God of War 2. I dabbled in like the newer one a little bit. Uh
Hmm.
I think maybe, or I've definitely watched a lot of videos on it. It seems very cinematic-y.
It
Kind
is,
of,
yeah.
I don't know. It looks nice. It looks like a really good game, but it also looks like nothing about that game that I've seen is what I liked about God of War. So it's kind of a
And that's
tough
fair.
sell for me. It's a different. It's like a totally different thing. Like emotional connections,
Yep.
like stories.
And
Like
see,
I want to
I'm an
see rip
emo.
and tear, fucking.
You
For God of
well,
War. I
you
like
still get
emotional shit.
you still get that. You still get the rip and tear, but for me, I'm a very emo dude. Like I am internally emo. That's how I describe myself.
I
So
am
like,
too. I cry in movies all the time, but I'd like
oh,
it. If Doom,
dude,
if Doom 2022 came out and it's like talking about the Doom Slayer's feelings, I'd be pissed off. It's
that's
like
fair.
that's not that's an
That's
odd turn. That's a weird left turn that I can't get on board
that's fair.
with.
Real quick, you said the last God of War you played was 2, so you never played 3.
No, I never did play 3.
Okay, I will read. This is like the second time I've been retelling this story this week because I was telling some friends about it. But this was I guess you can call it my friend's first impressions of God of War 3. It was back when like it launched, and he was
Hmm.
describing it to me. And he's just to kind of paint a picture, he's just a chill dude, and he's also pretty big as well, so he likes his food. But
Hmm.
his story, he told me his first impressions of God of War 3. He's like, "Hey man, so I got some Taco Bell and I picked up God of War 3. And I went home, I sat down, I turned on the PS3, and I put the disc in. And I was thinking like I just loaded up, thinking you need to install the game or you need to initialize it or something, so I'd have some time to eat my food.
Uh,
And then I was surprised because the game like starts up immediately and it's like really intense. And then I had to keep playing until I got to a point where I could stop and, a good save point. And the
yeah.
problem was like I was playing God of War 3 for like 30 minutes before I got to a stopping point. And so I had to wait like 30 minutes to eat my Taco Bell. And then it was cold at that point.
Hey, well, in all fairness, Taco Bell holds up really well cold. Unless it was a chalupa, then he was probably
I don't
fucked.
know
But
what he got. I don't think he
yeah,
knows either because it's been so long. Because this is the launch of God of War 3, like back on
right.
PS3. But yeah, that was that's always been. I've actually never really played God of War 3. I tried like a little bit of it on PS4. I just need to actually go through all the series. But that's when I think of
Yeah,
God of War 3, people just like describe it as this masterpiece of a game, and I just
yeah.
think of my friend waiting to eat his Taco Bell.
That's pretty rad. I don't know. I guess I gotta check that one. There's so many games that I have to get around to
Too many
playing, but
games, not enough time.
you know how it is when you're modding stuff. It's like you
Well,
just
modding
never.
things becomes the game.
That is the game. Like for me, like there's games I love to play that I like to sit back and play and really get lost in and all of that. But yeah, the modding stuff. It's just I'm always modding. Like that is more
That's your game.
rewarding when you do something like really really gnarly that like you were nervous about, like that euphoria you get when you do a really hard like
Yeah,
challenging mod that you were almost like unsure if you could like pull off, and you pull it off. And yeah, that's way better than any challenging, beating any challenging video
that
game.
first
That
time you successfully chip a PS2, it's
Yeah,
gnarly.
that
Yeah.
was another. I didn't succeed my first. I mean, I succeeded eventually, but the first
Fair.
PS2 I did was I think a V15
Yep.
Slim with the where the vias are really really close together compared to like the earlier Slims where they're nice and spaced out. And yeah, that took a while to get those BIOS wires right. Those were a little tricky for me.
They
But
they never when it comes to the world of PS2 hard mods, they never got easy. Like there's always
no.
been this thing of thinking like, oh yeah, as the system gets older, then it's easier to do it. And like keep in mind, there's Mechapone, we got free McBoot, free hard drive boot, and all that. But when I'm
Mhm.
talking about like hard mods, it's like no, the PS2 never got easier.
PS2 is one of the that is my threshold for people who like, will tell me something like, "Oh, I want to like seriously get into this stuff," or like, what's a new like the next level kind of thing. It's like that's like I don't know. Feel like it's like a rite of passage mod. Like it's cheap to
Yes.
do. It's like you're not going to be out too much money if you like botch a PS2, but like that is very much that's what that one kind of separates the men from the boys when it comes to like the modding thing, is like pull off a PS2. But it really does depend on the model, because there are some like a
Yes.
V2, a V12, like those are kind of, I mean, it's a lot of wires, but there's nothing really challenging about a V12, like any of those points. You might fuck up a resistor if you like solder it, and like the SX resistor if you solder and start wiggling it like aggressively. But other
Sure.
than that, there's not much that you can mess up. Uh, when it gets to like the 90Ks and you got to solder directly to
Oh
those
God,
like
no. I
those
I
legs,
borked
like
one of those, man, but that's because I know I should have had. I could probably do it now. Honestly, I could probably do it now because I have the microscope, and I'm
yeah,
also, I'm always improving my craft.
same dude. I mean, I botched my first one of those. It wasn't the 90K, it was the 79.
Hmm.
Um, the first time I tried one of those was maybe 2018, and like bridged the legs, and I didn't know how to like deal with it yet. Like I couldn't unbridge it. I couldn't get it. I just like was trying for quite a while to get work those legs out, and now I could like now they're easy as shit. The only issue with those is like you can like undoing them like the one that you already did, it's so easy to like accidentally like like you've got them all and you're on the last one and you got to solder it, and then you accidentally undo the one you just did and you got to redo that one. So that can be annoying, but yeah, it's really just it's about the right tip, it's about the right strategy.
Yep.
If like the easiest way to do those, if you want to try one of those again, is if you, to me at least, it's not as aesthetically pleasing, but when you're like, say you're looking at the legs like in front of you, and you
Yeah.
put the wire like tin it a little bit, and you place the wire on top of the legs, and
Hmm.
then just take like a chisel tip and just kind of touch it to the leg, and boom, you're good. Especially under the microscope,
That's what I need to do.
that's
Yeah.
the easiest way. Doing them vertically like that, like that's like the hardest way to do it, I think. But it looks like the nicest because then you can route it above the chip. It's like it's a really strong joint. It's like connected the whole length of the leg.
Yeah.
That's way harder. It took me a while to get used to it, but it's like easy now. I just kind of like I'll take like a J tip and like tin up the legs, just kind of brush them like a little bit before, and like if you're using the microscope, you just like flip it, like use a roll of tape or whatever, like some sort of roll, just kind of get it at an angle so it's like propped up so you can actually see what's going on the microscope. And yeah, you just line it up and touch it to the leg. You just make sure you just got to be really still, but it's
Yep.
if you tin up the leg, you flux it up nicely, then you take the chisel tip just nice and flat, you just take that like flat edge and just press it onto the leg, like it's good, it's sturdy, it's not going anywhere. And if bridge, just all it takes is good wick. Like that was my issue before, like I was
Mhm.
using like some really shitty wick. Now I got that goot wick, man, and it works very nicely.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah. No, because you even said you need to be real still. For me, like my hands, I'm pretty clear about. My hands do shake a little bit, but
Mm.
honestly, I'm pretty confident with it now because like even there's times like when people like call it out or someone's like, yeah, but like you can see the work I do. Like I'm still
Yeah.
good with my hands, but you even like you learn to like work with the shakes a little bit. So you work with
Yeah,
your
totally.
tools. Yeah.
Everybody shakes. I feel like I'll see when I'll look back on footage, like I'm shaky, and then when I'm like zeroed in on like doing something, like my like the shaking kind of stops. It's kind of weird, like just
Interesting.
naturally or like organically, like you're like my hands shaking, but then when
Yeah.
I've like when I'm doing something, it seems like my hand stops shaking, and it's not something I'm conscious of. It's just kind of something I've seen when I'm like looking at like footage or whatever.
Right
Like
on. For me, I always have the shake. It sometimes it can be worse than other times. Like, if I'm having like way too much, caffeine, I can,
yeah,
shake a little bit more or something. I've noticed though, with age, actually, I've been shaking a lot less. Funny enough. When I was like an
less.
insecure, I guess you could say when I was like an insecure teenager, I do remember shaking more because like people would call it out and everything. And it wasn't like super visible, but I just had like a shitty friend who would call that out. But it's
Right,
like
right.
now in like my mid to late 20s, like there's times like I'll just like grab something off my table and kind of just like hold it and I'm like, oh wow, I shake like barely. Like it's still like it's not still, but it's also not nearly as shaky as like it was when I was like 15 or 16.
Yeah. When did you start soldering? Because I remember seeing like watching older videos of yours. I think it was like one where you were showing off like an RGH, but like you had somebody else do it. Like
Yeah,
you had
my friend's dad did
reservations.
that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that. That was a long
Dude,
time ago.
yeah.
But
That was 2012. Yeah.
oh, that
So
was 2012.
yeah, so let's see. The first time
It
I
may not have been.
ever
It probably wasn't new when I saw it, but I remember seeing that, and you were talking about like not
Yep.
wanting to solder
I
yet, or
I
like
know
you
I
had.
know I know exactly what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, 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 let's see, the first time I ever soldered anything was in middle school, like, for a class, but then, like, I wouldn't really necessarily count that, that was more just my exposure, even though I did do it and it was
Mhm.
successful. Then I wanna say it was 2011, that's when I actually tried to do a PS1 mod chip
Like a mod chip.
install. killed my childhood PS1, man. I wasn't doing anything right. I didn't have any of the right stuff. I went in way too confident with it. Like I had the
That'll
issue
get
where
you.
it's like, like I know about flux, so I was like putting the solder on the tip and then I was like
Yeah.
trying to get the leg onto it and then like the solder wasn't going onto it and I'm like what the fuck? Like why isn't it going there? Like what's wrong?
Yeah.
I didn't like now I could, knock it out in my sleep, but like I
Right.
didn't have any of the tools, I didn't have the knowledge, I didn't have any of that. And because of that,
I didn't
I
find out about
was
flux for like longer than I care to admit, but
yeah,
when I
man.
found it, I thought it was magic.
Yep. Yep, magic sauce right there.
Yeah.
I didn't so I put up the iron and I was so terrified of soldering for about 2 years until um honestly it was PS1 again because my thing was I just want to install a PS1 like a
Yeah.
mod chip. That's what I want to do.
Was it MM3 that you were doing?
I don't know. It was a stealth chip that I bought somewhere. I have no idea. It was just labeled as a stealth chip. Like I bought it like years ago, like like 2011 or something.
Yeah, yeah.
But what happened was I ended up buying a chip. Like I had that. I still pulled it out of that broken PS1. I had gotten another PS1 that I worked on, and I remember I had like multiple PS1s, and like one of them I messed up in a way, another one I messed up in another way, and then like I had like the third and final one and dude, I had this shitty Radio Shack starting iron and like it was turned up to the maximum and it got stuck there. So when it was getting way too hot, I had to unplug it because I couldn't like
Yeah.
turn it down.
Oh no.
Everything was working against me. I didn't like it wasn't pretty, but I had it soldered in. That was like 2013. And that was I would say then 2013 is when I started actually like soldering successfully and then started getting more proficient with it. So it's been
Yeah.
almost 10 years, I would say.
Yeah, that's roughly the like the same duration as me. Like I had fucked around with it like probably 2014 is when I started soldering like a lot doing like those PS3s or 2015 whenever that
Mm,
was, but before that I had dicked around. Like I had a Radio Shack uh iron, and I remember it was like mid 2000s or something like that. I was like on this like kick of like wanting to learn circuit bending,
mhm.
like circuit bending Furbies and like old Casio keyboards. I just went on a spree because I didn't understand it at all. It was just like the whole idea behind it was just like randomly attaching shit to other shit. Like, and it was like you just going in there like making like attaching circuits to like a touch sensor or whatever, and just seeing what happens until inevitably you just fry the Casio because you don't know what you're doing.
Oh
And
my
I was
god.
playing around with that for a while and got kind of somewhere, and like made it a keyboard make some cool sounds until like I touched two of the wrong things together and it totally fried. But um,
Interesting. Never even heard of this until now.
look up a video of like a
Dude.
circuit bent Furby, and they're wild.
Okay. Okay. I see
They're
photos and all that, but yeah, I'll have to do videos. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some cool. I mean, have you seen what is it? Is his name Look Mum No Computer on
I have
YouTube?
not.
Oh, he's pretty right. He made an organ out of like a wall of Game Boys that are all synced to each other. But
That's cool.
he does like a Furby keyboard where he's got like 200 Furbies in parallel hooked up to, like via MIDI or something that he makes. Like, yeah, his shit. I'll link you. This gets crazy.
That's
Look, Mom,
amazing.
you'll appreciate it. He's
That's
pretty hyped
awesome.
up. He makes some really cool like electronic music. Uh,
That's cool.
Furby.
I will say, Tookie Doo, because it's been an awesome conversation, but we're getting close to the end here. Like,
Yeah,
it's
totally.
kind of
We should
overboard,
call it.
but
We've been shooting this shit
hell
forever.
yeah, dude, it's been
I'm
awesome.
gonna leave
But,
you with this. Like,
just the last things here, like, I guess, I'll put some links down in the description on YouTube, but where can people find you if they want to, sync up, follow you, any of that fun stuff?
yeah, YouTube, Modzville USA, post videos when I feel like it. At this point,
Fair.
for at least once a month, at very minimum, to because I'm obligated to do at least one a month. But there'll be more when I get through the weeds. I'm always modding stuff. Send in services. Shoot me an email. I don't respond on like if you think I'm a dick because I'm not responding. If you hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, I just don't even look at those. I just don't even. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Don't hit me up there. But Twitter, I'm usually pretty active on Twitter, a little bit on Discord if you want to say what's up. So yeah,
Right
that's
on.
about it, man.
Sweet. Well, dude, thank you for coming on. It's been
Dude,
awesome.
absolute pleasure is all mine. Thank you for having me. Been a fan forever. This was very stoked for this.
Well, it's
Thank you.
awesome. Real cool. Well, I'm happy to have you here. Very, very last thing. Typically, for anybody who's made it to the very end here, and like, Jesus, if people made it to the end, congratulations. But I typically have the guest here use a keyword or a key phrase to use in the comments. So, Modsville, what should people be using?
I'll say poo poo pee pee face.
Oh my god. Okay, if use poo poo pee pee face in the I don't even know if that's gonna get through. But
I'll get
I
through.
guess
That's
we'll
fine.
try. I
Spell it
guess
with
we'll try.
zeros and threes.
Oh my god. Okay. Whatever he's saying, just put in the comments and we'll know that you've made it to the end. It's been hours now. I'm tired.
Hell yeah.
Anyways, thank you everyone for listening, hanging out, and not just until next month, but until next year. We'll talk to you then.
Oh yeah.